Hi guys, it's Sunday night, and that can only mean the APAT Show. Our guest tonight is Jon Young, a former Bluff magazine editor. Jon is a good friend of mine. We're both Liverpool fans, so things might be a little bit strained on the show tonight after our 6th straight defeat at Anfield. A record, an all-time record, I believe. So we'll see how it goes as we focus in on your roller and deep stack play tonight. So Leigh, Jon, and I will be back with you right after this. Leigh, I've known the lovely, lovely Jon Young since he was but a lad, and it's really nice to have him back on the show.
That seems a very long time ago. I was just talking to my wife about when we first met you, and it was 15 years ago.
I know.
And that seems like a very long time ago, especially when you hear APATers now saying, "Oh, I've been playing APAT for years, since 2011," and you're going, "Christ." Like,
it's just insane, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
It's been a little bit longer than that, hasn't it? Yeah.
That's the way it is, but it does seem like a long time, Jon. It's gone quickly, though. That's the oxymoron in the whole piece, right? It's gone very, very quickly, but yet 15. It's been 15 years since I think I mentioned APAT to you. A couple of weeks before we launched it. You were there right at the start. You were smack in the middle of the media. So yeah, you know the story as long as anyone else, and much longer than most.
Yeah, and look where you guys are now, doing all sorts of stuff on Party, and hopefully, I was going to interview you maybe tonight about what your plans are for the next live stuff that you might have.
I love it because I can sit back and relax and just point that one straight over to Mr. W. Happy days.
Hang on, I will just get my crystal ball out, to see where we're at with things. But we've obviously got some, some interesting moves and we'll talk about it a little bit later on about some things that are happening in the live realm at the moment, and obviously where that might lead to regarding APAT later on in the year, because obviously we're driven very much by what other venues are doing and kind of the feel in the industry. And there's been some interesting things that have happened in the past couple of weeks and announcements. So we'll have plenty of that to talk about amongst a load of other stuff, Des, that we've got to talk about tonight.
We're going to ton of stuff. It feels like a busy one. No better place to start than in the chat box, right? So we'll have a little rustle through the chat box. It's early, so it's pretty quiet in there at the moment. We've got double figures people watching us. I see John O'Mara is there, Chris Hibbert is there. Oh, Jon Young, Chris is going to be suffering like you and I tonight. The golden sky is just a bloody rumour. There isn't a golden sky at all. It's just defeat after defeat after defeat. Mr. Wigglesworth is there also. Trish Chaplin has joined and said, "Good evening, gents." Good evening to you, Trish. I hope you are well recovered from your $5,000 buy-in experience last weekend, which was short and sweet, unfortunately. Greg Mawson is there and says, "Good evening." Good evening to you, Greg. So we've got a bunch of people in, Mr. W. What are they playing tonight?
So it's a Sunday night, and it's the kind of last one in this sort of format. So we'll talk a bit more of that later on. But for tonight, anyway, we've got the Sunday roller. 83 runners started in that. We're down to 14. One of those was Jon, but unfortunately he fell by the wayside quite we'll say mid pack, we'll call it, shall we? Yeah.
It's fixed.
Yeah, we'll call it
definitely fixed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mid-pack. We're down to 14 in that. So there's over $2,000 in the prize pool for that tonight. It's paying top 12. $600 up top though. So very nice for somebody this evening from a $33 buy-in.
Nice.
So good luck to those playing that. We will keep an eye on that first of all tonight. And over on the Sunday deep stack, 119 runners in that, Des, tonight.
What are they doing? Are they getting the kids ready for school tomorrow? What's going on?
What is going on? But there's 46 of those left. The top 16 are going to get paid. So it's nearly $150 up top for a $5 buy-in on a Sunday night.
I'll do nicely.
So it'll be very nice for somebody tonight to say, and we will keep an eye on those. Both of those are going to go, cashes from those will go points into the leaderboards at 7 p.m. and the 8 p.m. leaderboards. But again, it's the last time we're going to be doing a 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. leaderboard, because that's all changing next week as well. This is why we've got so much to tell you guys all about.
It's going to be a busy one, Leigh. I can feel this one could go on till 2, maybe 3 in the morning. Have we got the correct release for Jon to that hour? Have we signed it with his missus? What's going on?
He did say pre-show he's not got school tomorrow, so
No,
we're okay.
No, I don't have to get up at 7 o'clock or anything.
Well, listen, there's a lot to discuss, but let's catch up briefly with Jon, because we haven't seen him in a little while. But it's it's great to see that you're becoming Jesus-like the rest of us. Okay.
Well, we need a miracle, don't we?
I'll tell you what. Every now and again, I shave just to do something in the evening. I think more than anything else. How have you been since we've seen you, Jon? We've gone through another big old lockdown, pretty serious one, I think, over the last few months. How have you found it?
It's been hard. Yeah, when was I spoke to you? About a year ago, wasn't it?
Oh, it couldn't have been that long.
Couldn't
have been. We weren't even in lockdown a year ago. We weren't doing the show, but I'm going to guess it's 7 or 8 months, right?
Oh, was it? Oh, God.
I think it would have been early summertime. I'm thinking sort of May, June time last year, maybe it might be.
I can't remember. Last year's a blur. Last few months has been hard. Like anyone who's got kids will understand. We've got 2, so they've had lessons at home. Luckily, this time they've had video lessons.
Yeah,
which seems to be a new thing. So I haven't had to print off tons of stuff while I'm working and sort of sit with the kids. They can sort of go off and have their lessons. But my son started secondary school, so he's had sort of 7 hours of stuff every single day. But yeah, I think they're just desperate to go back, and I think we are too. I think, I don't know. It's been tough, and because the weather's been shit as well. I think mentally it's just been hard for everyone, hasn't it? And
I do think the second lockdown, the first lockdown was very much, it was glorious sunshine for a long time, and everyone thought, this is cool, we can go for walks, we can do stuff, and the days are long, and you kind of just made the best of it. Lockdown during winter is just quite demoralizing, isn't it? It's been bad.
But you've had a bit of a feeling over the last 2 weeks in particular, at least I've had this feeling, just this sense of, there's a bit of positivity around the vaccination, about the fact that, there's some elements of normality beginning to come back. There's a promise of, maybe an outdoor pubs visit in April. The kids obviously going back tomorrow. You can maybe go for a meal or something in May. So it's going to take time, but above all else, it's just the weather's getting a bit better. The sun is around for a little bit longer in the sky in the day, and you just get a sense that it feels a bit spring-like.
Yeah, and just hope that schools don't have to shut again. Let's just hope. When do they find out when the vaccines have had an effect? A few weeks' time, probably.
I guess 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks, then we'll see.
Know, yeah.
They seem to think that schools aren't as big a spreader of it than they did last year. So yeah, let's hope. And the worry is, some kids are going to fall behind, and they're talking about having longer school days and summer schools and stuff. I just think that's going to be disastrous.
We're just gonna have to wait and see. I've got I've had the same situation as you with the kids at home, and sat at the table back to back on laptops, doing video calls and all of that sort of good stuff. And Sian has definitely got the burden of it. She's sat with them, and because they're both quite young, and done sort of a lot of the helping stuff. While I've been trying to do other work in the background.
It just sounded like you set up some sort of call center at home, Des, and you've just got the kids cold calling. Is that what you've got?
It's felt like that. It's felt like that, Leigh. There've been times I've walked through my own sitting room and felt I was on camera and being watched by 30 young kids. It's very uneasy, that whole thing. But I was really sort of thankful for Sian's patience and all of that stuff, and until I came out one Friday afternoon, and she was sat with Gwen doing class, and Gwen suddenly shouts, "House! They're playing goddamn bingo at the school! All the goddamn kids are playing bingo. What's that about? I think they're teaching them to be gamblers.
Was there money on it? Yeah.
Well, I don't know if there was money on it, but I thought to myself, well, there's an opportunity. So, Leigh, I'm going to talk to you about APAT season 14. I've got an idea, right? Not tonight, though. We don't want to discuss it live on air. Anything else, not this one. So it is pretty tough, but the kids are back tomorrow. So they've all been refitting their shoes on, their old shoes. It's not new shoes, just to check that they still work.
But I'm assuming the schools are being reasonably flexible when it comes to uniform and whatnot.
No, not all.
Are they being sticklers for we're treating it as normal?
Yeah. What some I've read today are being quite lax. Like, if your kids' shoes don't fit anymore, or don't worry about it. Don't buy special school uniform. And others are like, no, normal day, straight back into it.
Wow.
What if you're?
That's pretty brutal. Bear in mind, shops and stuff have been closed and things, so it's not an easy thing to kind of get back organised, I'd imagine.
No.
What if your 7-year-old has developed a smoking habit or something during the period, just to help them through? Are they allowed to do they have to light up outside the school gate, or can they? Is there a special part of the schoolyard for a smoker's corner?
It's going to be very hard.
What about drinkers?
What about the kids? Like, my son's terrible. So I'll come in and he's obviously playing Minecraft or watching some Minecraft video on YouTube, and he's desperately clicking away, trying to pretend that he's listening to a lesson. So all these kids going back into classrooms, and they'll be sort of mentally clicking away from the teacher to play something or do a call on.
What was the game they used to? Was it on Minesweeper on Windows that had a boss button or something that you could very quickly flick?
Spreadsheets come up.
Spreadsheet came up. Yeah.
Only with a kid, though, you go to your 7-year-old and say, you know nothing about spreadsheets. Where did that come from?
Maybe it was something more complicated than Minesweeper, but it was definitely something where you had this little boss button, which would quickly flick it on. I mean, that's back in the 90s we're talking now. So,
Well, listen, guys, let's hope we are onto something, and that actually, over the coming months, we can have a good run, as they say, a good innings, and see some level of normality coming back. Now, as far as we're concerned, I guess the single biggest, topic of discussion for us is when will live poker come back? You've already mentioned, the live schedule and stuff like that. I think there'll be a great deal of excitement for live poker coming back, and there are some examples of it out there again. So we saw some stuff last year, and it's beginning to bounce back now. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the World Poker Tour having a big major event at the Venetian in Las Vegas at the moment. So a $5,000 buy-in event. They've apparently had smashing numbers. So they smashed the guarantees. So that's all good news. And we managed to get hold of an interview between Matt Savage and Tommy LaRusso's the cardroom manager at the Venetian, which just gives you a sense of what players going to that event at the moment will be experienced. So I'm going to run this just to give you a feel for what's happening out there, and then maybe we can discuss live poker.
Yeah, we're excited. Our next event will be a $5,000 main tour stop from the World Poker Tour in March 5th through the 9th. $5,000 buy-in, $1.5 million guarantee. And then we'll have another $1,600 WPT deep stacks later in the year. So we're excited. I think it brings players from not only the country, but all over the world to support these events. And we're excited to bring your player base in. It just creates an atmosphere in the room that you can feel it. And we're excited. We're excited for the opportunity.
So 5,000 is a big buy-in. Is there going to be ways for people to get in for a smaller amount?
Yeah, we'll have satellites for $600, so you can win your way in. We'll have mega satellites. We'll have survivors where players can win $5,200 to get in. So there'll be multiple avenues to get in, and we just hope the players come and support the event.
We touched on it just a little bit about what we're going through now. What are some of the protocols and procedures you're doing here in the room to ensure that it's a safe environment?
Yeah, the Venetian Resort, we operate under the Venetian Clean Commitment. It features 800 initiatives designed to enhance safety and minimize risk for our players, our guests, and our team members. We have plexiglass dividers on every table. Players are required to sanitize their hands and dealers before sitting down at every table. We sanitize our cards every 2 hours. We sanitize our chips. We wipe down our plexiglass. We wipe down the seats. So we're trying to take every precaution we can to minimize risk and to create an environment where they feel safe, our players feel safe, and our team members feel safe to come and enjoy poker.
So it's poker, gents. Not necessarily as we know it, but it is poker. It is coming back. What do we think of what we saw there, John?
I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, I don't know the figures in Las Vegas or Nevada generally, right? I mean, if it's anything like anywhere in the States, Nevada has to be quite bad. I don't know what the figures, but they've got masks. So why have the screens? Like, if you're going to sit next to each other on a table with masks, let's just get rid of the screens. Plus, no one's got gloves on, right? So you're all touching your chips and cards and passing them around.
Yeah.
So I think the science still now is that it can live on surfaces for a period of time. Is that still correct?
Yeah, I think so.
What's the point?
It's a virus.
I don't understand what the point is. Like, I mean, if they don't have to have vaccine passports, right? Do they get their temperature checked as they come in?
You'd have thought they'd have mentioned it.
Or is there some kind of lateral flow test, like they do, starting to do over here? I don't know. I wouldn't play. I wouldn't do that just yet. Until there's a huge uptake in the vaccination program and the numbers are right down. I don't think I'd do that.
What did you make of it, Leigh?
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I was just reading what Tristan is writing in the chat here, saying, I really want to play live. I miss it so much, but I love the social aspect far too much to play in those surroundings. Until these are lifted and things back to normal, I'll play online. Yeah, I think I've a similar view. To be honest, America is so far behind. And actually, it's one thing where we are ahead of the game, really, as far as vaccines go. And hopefully, we're going to be in a position in maybe 6 months' time, we're kind of there with everybody having their first vaccine, which is is incredible. But to then fly over to Vegas and go play poker where probably 90% of the room haven't or aren't worried about it, it does it's slightly concerning, and that's not enjoyable with all the plexiglass and everything else up there. I mean, that's not why people play poker. You can't be that desperate to want to play poker in those conditions.
Well, apparently players are.
Really,
I mean, apparently the players are. They smash the numbers.
Well, of course, the other thing about the Venetian, I don't know whether you picked up on this week, which people will be flocking back there now, is because Sands have agreed to sell it. So that deal's is going through this week. 6.25 billion, I think, is being paid for the expo center and the hotels. Wow. And obviously that'll be a huge change around to, I guess, the poker players' views on that venue. Obviously with online poker starting to come back more into America now, so massive change of ownership there, and obviously a lot of people used to boycott even going to that venue, Jon, because of the views of the original previous owner and how strongly he was trying to stop online poker.
Yeah, now he's died. Now Sheldon Adelson's out of the way, and I think it'll open up. I mean, also there are a lot of live pros whose income has just died the last year. Yeah. I've spoken to some British live pros who've had to find other jobs, because they just can't. They don't know how to play online, or they just find it too hard and can't make the same kind of living. And if they've lost their sponsorships as well to play in live tours, it's really hit them. So these pros are desperate to play anywhere. So I think that's probably why we've seen the numbers. The WPT.
Well, that is an interesting one with the live pros. I mean, we've seen obviously a number of new ambassadors. They tend to get. Well, it's funny when they're online, they tend to be more known as ambassadors for some reason than sort of pro players or their streamers, aren't they? But very much still live. I mean, what somewhere like in the UK, I guess the Grosvenor team.
Yeah.
I mean that they've obviously completely stopped playing, and you've got some great long-standing names in the UK scene that I presume are just struggling to know what they can do. I mean, I've spoken to Jeff Kimber quite a bit recently.
So Jeff, he's announced leaving Grosvenor.
Yeah, you wouldn't think.
Right, okay.
Yeah, he has left, and Joe Beavers as well. You can imagine them leaving Grosvenor. I mean, they're just the first two guys you think about when you talk about Grosvenor. But these companies have had to change. That they don't know when they're coming back.
Do Do you think Grosvenor will ever come back seriously with live poker in the UK, John? In your view?
I mean, again, it depends on the vaccination program. I think, you know, if they discover that places like you know, casinos spread the virus, then I don't know. I mean, it's a sort of a wider question about casinos in general, isn't it? You know, if they open nightclubs again and concert venues and pubs,
which they're saying they're going to do.
They're going to do, and they're proven to keep to keep the virus down to sort of manageable levels among, say, a younger populace, then you'd think casinos would be okay. But it's too early. It's too early to tell.
I guess it also depends on whether they get these testing where they can turn it around. So what they're doing in the schools now, they're talking about, you know, they can turn those tests around pretty quick, and they're reasonably accurate. They're not as good as the normal tests.
Yeah.
But they're reasonably accurate to give an idea of whether there's, you know, an indication of whether there's likely to be an outbreak anywhere, or they can jump on something if there's a problem, you know, pretty quick.
Yeah, my son has to have, he goes back on Thursday, but he's got to go in Wednesday for a test.
Yeah.
Then he has 2 or 3 a week, I think. And I think some schools are going to ask parents to do them at home. I don't know if you heard this, Des.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've literally 5 minutes ago, I had a WhatsApp from my daughter saying, oh, by the way, Tuesday morning, I've got a test at 8 o'clock. So we've organised that. So yeah, absolutely. It's the same thing.
But what's the turnaround on these tests?
It's quick. It's quick. It's remarkably quick, because what they do, Leigh, is they bring in obviously different classes at different times, and I think if you are found positive, you'll get notified on the day, and this is before. This is like the day before you go back to school, right? Okay. And if negative, it's a 24-hour turnaround, but there's some really interesting news coming out of the States, I believe it is. So we're going to have to take this with a pinch of salt. But apparently there's a more accurate test now that can be taken by stepping into an airlocked device. I'm being absolutely serious about this. Read this evening. You can step into this airlocked device and scream. That's all you have to do. You just step in there, you scream. I guess you get your air out and you step out the other side, and they'll tell you immediately whether you're positive or not.
Wow.
Okay. That's got to be easier than sticking a sort of, a sausage roll sort of stick up your nose.
Yeah.
Gary Young's in the chat saying half-hour turnaround, he says. Apparently.
Yeah, I think that's right. Something like 30 minutes or something.
Well, we finally watched last night what you talked about last week, Des, that's on Amazon Prime at the moment, which is the COVID-23.
Oh, we don't want to go there, Leigh. We do not want to get to year 2023 with COVID. Not if it's going to be like that. They had an
interesting thing where basically, you had to have a temperature test every morning, and it was done off your device. You know, your iPhone effectively was capable of taking the temperature test, and you had no option. It could detect whether you had anything just by effectively the camera on your phone. I mean, that's hopefully we're not going to be anywhere near that. But if it is genuinely the so Gary Young says my wife does them twice a week at work and school so quick. So apparently, and I know they're lateral flow ones, aren't they? So they're not as they admit they're not as accurate, but they're pretty good, I think, at being able to detect. Which means I would suggest then when they're talking about opening nightclubs and music venues and things like that, they would run that same thing whereby you'd be in a waiting area, and if you tested positive, I don't know quite how you isolate for that half hour whilst you're waiting for your test result back. I don't know how quite they're going to work it, but they're talking about being able to open. I mean, they're talking about the Euros having fans into grounds, aren't they? I mean, UEFA needs something like a third capacity for them to break even.
Yeah, they're talking about a lot of fans.
2020, so they need. So that's a fair number of people required, and they're looking for commitments from the host cities, which is where I think at the moment Scotland and Ireland are debating whether they want to continue as being a host city, because UEFA are wanting confirmation. They want them to pretty much sign up to this now that they're going to be able to do that come June, which seems crazy.
And considering they've only now just introduced quarantine hotels, a year later, a year after they should have done, how many fans coming in from Europe? So if it's Spain v France or something at Wembley, what are they all going to go into hotels a night before the game? That's not going to happen.
No, of course it's not. I can't see how you can really have traveling fans in June. I just don't see that being a thing. And I know they've delayed the League Cup final, haven't they? Which would normally have been in February, with the hope of being able to get fans in. But
Yeah.
it's not going to happen now, because obviously June is the first time. June the 21st, isn't it? Is the kind of the time. Although they might let some fans in before then. But
yeah, the FA Cup final they're saying will be a test event, so that's the week before fans are to be allowed into effectively the last round of fixtures.
Surely if you've had a vaccine, so surely once you've had a vaccine, basically that should be your, okay, you can go and watch a game of football again.
Yeah,
or not.
This is whether they're going to impose a vaccine passport to get into, because then if they do it for the football, but they say, oh, you don't have to do it for other things, so to go on holiday or to get to get through. But and then if they don't allow, let's say Europe's had a really slow uptake of vaccines, if that carries on for the next couple of months and they don't let fans in from Europe, what are they going to do? It will be a home. Is it just going to be home fans? Because it's all over Europe, isn't it, this one?
Yeah. I can't see how it cannot be anything other than home fans only.
It's in a lot of different cities, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, it'll be, yes, I think that's the way they'll do it. Is only
12
you've got to be,
cities,
if you're
right?
living in the country, you can go. Yeah.
Okay.
But the craziness is what's gone on with the Europa League and the Champions League in the past few weeks. So Germany wasn't allowing English, in, so they just go and move that entire game to Portugal or Budapest or wherever it is, and they were doing that all over the place. So United played in Italy, I think, at one point. It's like, what? This is just bonkers, because they're allowing us in, so we'll go there. It's just like, surely it should be a consistent thing across the board. But hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is, gents. Listen, one big talking point recently, very much tied to this, is the 1% pay rise to the NHS. What do we think of this?
Who wants to go first? Well, my mum was a nurse for 50 years, so I've got very strong feelings about this.
Yeah.
I mean, not to get too political, I will. It goes back to the bus. It goes back to the 350 million quid for the NHS.
Yeah.
And Boris standing outside number 10 clapping for carers when it was blatantly obvious he didn't give a shit. It's just obscene. I think they'll back down. I think there will be so much pressure that he will reverse that. I don't think that can stand. And all the help.
But that's normal these days, because they do U-turns on so many things. And it used to be a U-turn would be a case of someone's got to be, get sacked for this when you have a U-turn. Now it's actually done as a strategy.
Yeah.
100%. It's done as let's go in with a ridiculous thing, and actually we've got a bunch of other things that we don't really want to talk about at the moment or worry about. And obviously the media play a whole game with this, because that's obviously a travesty at the moment, but also there's a number of other things that are as well. Priti Patel kind of getting away with it being a payoff for her bullying, a obscene amount of money from the tax has been brushed under the carpet because of that. Because of course everyone's talking about Harry and Meghan and Oprah at the moment, because that's obviously the number one thing to talk about. So it's all done at this very clever time to try and kind of cover things off. And the 1% is in there as it's nonsense. But at the same time, I also understand the argument that a lot of people are putting forward at the moment, which is the private sector are, there's no pay rises, and there's a lot of people that have lost their jobs, and there's a lot of people that couldn't get furloughed. And obviously if you within the NHS, you didn't get that. And should it be a case of, well, okay, you're working on the front line of the NHS, should it be that there should be something as a one-off payment to say, everybody really appreciates everything that they've gone through to in the past 12 months, rather than it being anything else. You could argue both sides of it. It's not a great situation to be in. But also the trouble is the media is very quick to, it gets spun in different ways. I mean, you see some of the stuff, the headline I saw the other day was it equates to £3.50 a week. Well, if you work that out, that's just nonsense. That isn't even a thing. it's like,
was that even 1%? £3?
Yeah, well, no, it isn't. It isn't. to get your £3.50, if you got £3.50 a week, that's effectively 150 quid a year. So if that was 1%, that means you'd be earning 15 grand a year.
Yeah.
Well, if you're working in the NHS and earning 15 grand a year,
You're not
that's not even minimum wage. I mean, it's not even anything. And they were saying, a grade 6 nurse or something earns 30,000 or something like that. And I'm not saying that's enough. I mean, this is the point: is you can't kind of. It's obviously. They interview people going out of the hospitals, and of course they're all saying, "Oh no, it's terrible. They deserve more than this." And it's like, well, okay, how much? And Labour are obviously saying, "No, they deserve more than this." And then you ask the Labour leader, "Well, how much would you give them?" It's like, "Oh, well, just a sensible amount." It's like, what's that then?
From that opinion.
Yeah, what's that then?
Standard response.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're all agreed they deserve more than the clap on a Thursday night.
I think the timing was bad though, wasn't it? With it as well, like why announce it now, unless just leave it. Better don't put anything in the budget and wait.
And to be fair, there was enough in that budget. I mean, Des will know that I had a huge amount of fun on Wednesday, basically unpacking everything that was in there for clients and things. And there was so much to talk about and delve into there. It could have just been, as you say, actually, we're going to review that somewhere down the line. It isn't an urgent thing now. And actually, we're still in a situation where it shouldn't be the focus right now. The focus should be on finishing rolling out the vaccines, why we've used taxpayers' money to pay off Priti Patel's bullying. I bring it up again because it's not being mentioned, and it's insane. It's obscene.
Well, listen, guys.
That's our taxes are basically paying off a guy who's done nothing wrong necessarily. He's got bullied at work by somebody, but they're allowed to get away with it. It's
well, listen, we're half an hour plus into the show, so we're not going to be a full politics show tonight. But one last political point, perhaps. Did I read somewhere that Nigel Farage has finally hung up his ballet shoes? That in fact he will not be dancing among us any longer, having done his thing.
What's that?
Apparently Farage has retired or something.
What?
Yeah, I didn't even know he had a job, to be honest. Does he have a job at the moment?
Believe that. I wouldn't believe that for 1 second.
Is that another spin?
How if we're talking politics and we're not even going to discuss Mr. Trump's speech earlier on in the
Did we discuss that last week? That was last week. Did we not discuss that last week?
Not in any sort of level of detail.
Well, we can't possibly move off of politics without discussing the Trumpian one and his latest rant to the people.
He's not going anywhere in a hurry. In the same way that I'd be very surprised if anyone that says, "Oh, I'm retiring from politics. I've done what I aim to do and get us out of Europe." It's like, yeah, okay, right, until the next thing that you decide you want to get involved in.
Yeah, he'll find another fight a few years down the line and go, "I need to come back." Although he keeps popping up on my YouTube. He's into Bitcoin a lot now, Nigel Farage. I think that's
really.
Oh yeah, I saw that advertisements. Yeah,
that's his next big thing. So he's obviously into the decentralized currencies.
He was doing some sales thing.
Yeah.
He's tied up with somebody and saying trust me, and his sales pitch is amazing.
Hi Gov, buy these bits from
me.
Yeah.
You could trust me. I know what I'm talking about. Wow.
So if we get the 1%, right, that has been proposed for the NHS, if we funnel it all to Nigel Farage, right, he can invest it wisely into
Bitcoin,
into Bitternet or whatever it's called, and as long as he doesn't lose his computer down some sort of dump in Harlow or wherever he is, happy days. We're going to be able to pay the NHS 1,000% on the investment.
Do you think he'll hire John Hesp?
Oh no, please don't go there.
He might do. He might do.
Come on, we haven't been able to discuss John Hesp properly apart from on Facebook.
I don't know what there is to discuss. I mean, there are clearly sides, right? And never was it more evident than when Trump took power. There were sides. There were, those on the left and those on the right. and there was a lot of passion and belief in
and those in the clouds. There were
space.
those in the clouds as well. Yeah, don't forget that.
As well, we'll come back to Jon in a moment. So we've created this thing of just divisive. Everything's divisive. So Jon is, certainly on the left of where I would be. He certainly was, as far as his support of Trump and his understanding of what happened in the election and stuff like that, was quite different to what I believed happened. I dare say he's getting info from somewhere, because he seemed to be very opinionated that Trump wouldn't be leaving the White House on January the 20th, which of course he did. Who knows where all of that's coming from? But Jon is equally.
Do you not think though, Des, that we're in a world where, with the internet and the information that's out there and the number of people that have opinions and views, it's not that difficult to get evidence, or what you can believe is evidence.
Oh yeah,
there's
no question
and justify your stance on not just politics, but on a whole range of things that you can go, I've seen that somewhere.
Yeah.
So
although I will say, one thing I will say for Jon, and was that rather than necessarily preaching a great deal, he would say something and he would say, do your own homework, right? So you go and do your own homework. But I think there are so many places that people can be doing their research, right? And it's really hard to differentiate from, what might be official and what might be very unofficial, what might be wildly speculative and what might be based on, science or fact or whatever. Some of this stuff it's like an iceberg, right? There's what you can see, and then underneath there's dark web. There's just a pile of stuff out there from communities that, it's almost cult-like. It feels that, if you're in that space, you're a believer, right? I believe this stuff. And, you then go out above the tip of the iceberg to share some of this insight with people. And you probably feel like you're doing a really good service, that actually you're just saying to people, keep your mind open, and maybe you too will see the light. The question is whether, in fact, it's light or not. So, I got a bit frustrated by some of that stuff, because I thought Jon had done such a nice job for poker, and he's such a good bloke and what have you. He's lovely to meet in a card room. But, and look, we'll all agree to disagree on opinions on stuff. But when it comes down to getting a vaccination, I mean, for me, you just get your vaccination, right? You secure yourself and your family as best you can. You can't afford to be taking chances on that sort of stuff. So whether you vote for Trump or not is less important to me. Whether you get a vaccination or not is probably more important to me, because I might meet you at some point in future. So, at that point, I tend to get a bit frustrated and step away from the discussion, as it were. What did you think, Jon? I mean, similar?
Different? Yeah, it was... Like you said, we sort of came in contact with Jon after his heroics, and and he played APAT, didn't he? And he was all wanting to promote amateur poker, and he was great. He was a lovely old guy, and then just gradually these posts start arriving on his feed. Trump's being hounded. It's not fair, and then the election came, and just all the way through the election, it was like, if he was like preparing. If he loses, it will be a robbery. They're trying to steal this, or they're already trying to steal this.
But there's millions of people saying that, right?
Yeah,
literally millions of people saying that.
Yeah, but he's in an echo chamber, and he says, "If you don't believe me, read this." And he posts news sites that have been proven to be conspiracy sites, but they have kind of respectable names, and they even have journalists working for them. UK Yorkshire News, I think, is one of them. Maybe that's not the name. Do you know what I'm talking about, Leigh? Do you know the one?
I know the type of sites you're talking about.
They're very high production value studios, and they sound sensible, and they're all serious. But it's just nonsense. It's just conspiracy. And then they share, and then people go, "Oh yeah, I believe that." Okay, and then they'll delete anyone from Facebook from their friends list who doesn't agree. So it's just, but that's the same on both sides. If someone comes on your Facebook feed and says, "I love the Nazis, they're amazing," and starts this, what are you going to do? You're going to block them. So you never hear from that person again. And all you hear about is people with views that are the same as yours. And that's the problem. I think that's the big problem with social media, and what's happened up to, what happened at the White House, and that's not going away. It's just going to get worse, I think. And anti-vaxxers are the big one at the moment. I'm seeing quite a few people, some people in poker as well that I've known for a long time, who are huge anti-vaxxers and are just sharing absolute bollocks about the vaccine. Usually in Google Docs, kind of, they'll post a link on Facebook going, "Oh, you've got to read this from someone respected," and it's just someone who's just written a Word file and shared it online, and it's just. And then there'll be this whole conversation like, "Oh, are you going to have the vaccine?" No, I'm never going to. No, me neither. No, great. Oh, I'm not going to do it either. And it's like, okay,
I just don't understand that. I really don't understand that.
What about the vaccine?
Yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, I've heard all the theories why.
It's not even
sure I've heard some of them.
Bill Gates is going to put a microchip in you. It's like it's going to cause you lifetime side effects, or But then these people will go down to the supermarket and buy stuff that they have no idea what's in it, or go to the chemist. They don't know how these drugs were put together, but they're willing to trust one thing and not another thing. It doesn't make sense. But yeah, Facebook and Twitter and things like that just confirm everyone's fears. That's the problem.
No, but you've nailed it. And I think we've talked about it on the show a number of times last year. It is that thing of, if you only listen to people whose views are the same as yours, then yes, you lead a very sheltered life. And it is important to understand why other people are taking different views. But sometimes it's a case when you are talking about, like, certainly the people against the vaccine, you kind of go, well, what's your actual logic for it? And there isn't really anything that they can actually say. There isn't really a reason why they can't, because anything we've lost the ability to debate. We've lost the ability to have a sensible discussion that doesn't just turn into a who can shout loudest, or well, it's fact. I can end it with, it's fact. That's it. It's fact. And it's like, well, no, because can you not just have a sensible discussion and a view on things? People don't seem to be able to do that.
I'll tell you guys.
Look,
guys, I'm putting my foot down. Right, I can only put my hand down visibly, but I'm putting my foot down now. Right, we're gone into a dark place. We're going to a very dark place. I liked the thought of spring at the start of this discussion. I feel we're all the way back in winter now. We're back on January the 20th or January the 6th, and we're attacking the capital.
I've not even got us into the football discussion.
No,
oh, Jesus, don't go there. Oh, my God. Let's not go there too soon. I tell you what we could do, Leigh. We could name check the 5 players that are remaining.
I was going to say,
let's do that.
We got to the money, right, in this Sunday roller, and I thought Argo would be a little bit off the final table, and it literally went from 12 to 5.
It's happened really
about
quickly.
5 minutes. It was absolutely insane.
I don't want to spend any more than 5 seconds on them, right? We'll quickly name check them. I'll put this table up. We'll name check them, and then I really want to have a discussion about the new APAT schedule for online, because I think that would be.
So we've got 5 left. So these guys have all locked up $163 now. So Tony Griffiths is the chip leader on 1.2 million. Regular APAT player Andreas Aquilia has got 1.1 million. Eric Alonso from Brazil is in third with 600,000. Stanislav Bosch has got just over 500,000, and Thierry Van Drom from Belgium is the short stack of the 5 remaining players in the roller.
Fantastic. So well done to all of you guys for making the final table of the roller. Nice little payday up top there. Leigh, I'm going to run this little promo that you pulled together, and then maybe you can tell us about what's happening, right, with the online schedule starting tomorrow night. So let's see if we can do this.
That's great.
Apart from the unfortunate timing about using a football-orientated song to introduce that promo there, Leigh, which is just hurting
John,
me.
I just told Des that I was aiming to, for our Brazilian players. I mean, that's all I was doing. It seemed quite...
So there's a lot going on there, and we think there's some really cool stuff. Tell
I
us.
unpack a little?
Yeah,
Let me
unpack it.
unpack a little bit for you. So what we've got going on. So basically, as most people will know, we've had daily events, weekly events for all through lockdown. So we've just revised the weekly schedule. So the new weekly schedule is 16 tournaments, 2 a day with 4 on a Sunday. The Monday to Wednesday tournaments are $5.50 buy-ins, and then the Thursday to Sunday are $11 with 2 $33 ones on a Sunday night. So all of that has now got guarantees on them. For the first time,
Lovely.
We've got guarantees on every single tournament. Every single tournament's a freeze out. So no re-entry, so it's freeze out. It's real names, and we've still got all of the great mix of games that you can play during the week. So all of that totals over $10,000 of guarantees every single week.
Nice.
It starts tomorrow, but yeah, pretty much it's a case of getting involved and playing. We've got a couple of newbies in there. We've got a fixed limit hold'em event in there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Anybody
going to play that? Anybody going to play the fixed limit?
We'll find out. Yeah.
Apart from Simon Lawler and Derek?
Yeah, it starts on the Wednesday, finishes by the Sunday. It'll be fine. But it should be good. So it's all the usual normal stuff. So short, late regs, and sensible finishing times, and all the usual that goes with that. So that's the normal weekly structure. Now, as I mentioned, we've scrapped the leaderboards, so they're gone. So we've got a brand new leaderboard that starts on Monday. And basically, you pick up points for any cashes that you get in any of our APAT tournaments. So those 16 events I've just talked about, if you cash in any one of those, you'll pick up points. Doesn't matter what the buy-ins are. Buy-ins are irrelevant, as we always do. So to be fair across the board. So you'll pick up points in that. It's called leaderboard ladders. And how it works is everybody starts on step 1 of the ladder. And if you finish in the top 20 in the leaderboard in the first week, you'll win a $5.50 tournament token to use the following week. Simple as that. If you finish in the top 20, you move up a step on the ladder, which means the following week you're playing for an $11 ticket. So if you do 2 weeks in a row, you'll pick up a $5.50, then an $11. You do 3 weeks in a row, it goes to $33. Then it goes to $55. Then it goes to $109.
What? Stop!
So if you can
really
get into the
how much
20 in the top 20 of the leaderboard 5 weeks in a row, you're playing for, and then you'll keep playing for $109 tokens as long as you stay on that leaderboard.
Sweet.
If you're out of the top 20, you just drop down a rung on the ladder. So if you were playing for a 33, you'll drop down next week and play for an 11. Lowest you can ever play for is a 550. Everyone plays for a 550 every week, and we'll see how we go. I'm hoping to see if we can have a bit of competition. Who can be the first one to do 5 weeks in a row and get to that top one? We might even come up with something above that. If people start, if we get a few.
Don't listen to them, folks. We're not coming up with anything above that. Never. How much? That's amazing. That's good. I love it.
So of course, the question that you're asking is, but Leigh, you mentioned a $55 token and a $109 token, but there's no tournaments that I could possibly use one of those for. I know you were both pretty much. That was the next question you were going to ask. Well,
I know I was going to cash it, Leigh. I was going to go straight to the cashier and get my $55 in cash. Can I cash it?
Well, you won't be able to. Unfortunately, you're going to have to play it. So the last week of the month, we are going to have the championship weekend. It is coming back with medal events, with some extra events on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So there's an extra event on the Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays, and those $11 tournaments will become $33 tournaments, and the $33 tournament will become a $55 tournament for that championship weekend. So we're tripling the buy-ins for that weekend, but that's
love it.
Thing. So obviously you'd say, well, we're going to therefore triple the guarantees, aren't we? For those. Nah, we're not. We're gonna multiply it by 5. Those weekends are going to be $50,000 guarantees.
Nice.
In total across those weekends. So there will be a no limit hold'em 2-day main event, which will be a $20,000 guarantee. There will be a pot limit Omaha main event 2-day event. There'll be a $5,000 guarantee. So, and you have plenty of opportunities to satellite into those as well. So that is going to be the plan, and that will carry on month after month after month with
Fantastic.
some additional surprises throughout the year. We're looking at some bigger festivals again.
Oh God, yeah.
Big,
Huge
to put in, which we will let you know more about. But that is pretty much the new schedule that starts tomorrow.
Fantastic. I love it, Leigh. Tell me, so if you win one of those beauties, right, in the championship sort of weekend at the end of the month, you win one of those. If you don't win one the following month, do you have to send it back?
Yeah. You can only keep it.
You got to send the medal back. That's fair enough. I like that. Can they come to me? Because I just like, I want to riffle them. I want to riffle 20 medals at a time. That's my dream.
Nothing wrong with that.
Look at that. Leigh, did you notice I've got a merchandise operation starting behind me?
Yes, I saw that.
It's on the fridge. Do you like the look of that?
Yeah.
We're just teasing people at the moment.
I'm ever so slightly worried because I did have the stream up on the Facebook group and it's just closed. And I don't know why.
Oh, I'm still seeing it.
Oh, that's okay then. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I think it's still going.
That's all right then.
Sorry to talk business. Do you have a good provider? Because I might be getting some merchandise done for.
Well, this is. I mean, we've had a very good provider in the past, and that may very well be a good provider going forward. I just got a few pieces made up to just recreate a bit of excitement around merchandise again. And if we get a level of interest, we might very well, just reproduce stuff. I mean, there was a time, Leigh, when you sold boxes and boxes of
Well,
stuff.
I must admit, I did have to chuckle when you decided you were going to start doing merch, or you were talking about doing merch. That you used to give me so much. I'd turn up at an APAT event with 2 crates full of gear that people had ordered or whatever events and dishing this stuff out, and you look at me going, "What are you doing?" It's like, well, that's why we've got so many people that have got APAT branded merchandise.
I just get a feeling that in X number of months, whenever live does come back, I think people are going to want to have their hats and their shirts, and they'll be meeting up with their APAT buddies because they've been playing them every week online.
I've just ordered some Quizalot stuff, actually, funnily enough, which is arriving this week. So
we'll compare notes. But we've
been pestered for that. So
definitely share some supplier details with you, John, if you're looking to get some stuff done up.
Yeah, I think just looking ahead, I think although I was being pessimistic about live poker, I think when it does come back, I don't know about you, I think there will be a boom. I don't know, I'm just predicting so people are talking like the 1920s were like the boom that followed the pandemic in 1918, and I think maybe we're sort of going to see something similar where people just go out and spend lots and lots of money and go partying and do all sorts.
But that's the thing, though. Is actually as much as there's been a lot of people that have financially really, it's been difficult for them during the last year. There are also a lot of people that have actually done financially well out of it, or are in a situation where they've been on furlough or they've had a job or whatever, and actually they've not been spending the sort of money that they would spend, so they've actually have become more cash rich than they would have been.
People saving for the first time, and
so it's interesting, and obviously interest rates are so stupidly low that you're not getting any returns on it, that actually it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if people go and start holidays, changing the car, doing all these things that they might be go, well, we won't do that, or just go, well, actually we can afford to do that, so we'll get on and do that. Will be interesting.
Chance would be a fine thing. Chance would be a fine thing, gents, I have to say. Right, where are we going to go to next? Okay, let's have a little fun competition for you guys out there. And John, you can have your guess at this as well. But I'm going to ask you to hold your guess for the extent of the video, and we'll let the guys in the chat box have a swing at this. This is a venue that APAT have been to, right, over the last X number of years. A venue, a casino, and your challenge is to be the first to name it. Okay, so it's focused on you guys out there in the chat box. We're gonna give you a $5.50 token, so we'll just put that into your account if anybody gets this. And I think they'll get this on quite quickly if you switched on and you are looking. Okay, so let's see if we can roll this thing. So name the venue in the chat box. First one to get it right wins $550. Here we go.
One! Alright! Come on! Yeah! Here we go! Yeah! 1, 2, 3, 4! Come on!
I'm going to turn off the music. Well, so without naming it, guys, without naming it, have you got it? John?
No.
Oh, you haven't got it yet. Leigh, I bet Leigh has it.
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, Leigh had it.
Got
immediately.
it straight away. There's some very obvious as it was zooming in.
It's that car
giveaways
park.
on that.
Car park as well, right?
Oh
It's
no,
a
it's not
big
even the car park. It's other
stretch of
buildings
water
around
and
it.
yeah.
A particular building
Ah,
that I had lovely views of out of my hotel for a number of days.
okay. Well, the video is playing now in the live stream. So we haven't had any responses yet. Trish Chaplin has said, "I want one of those beanies." Trish wants a hat.
I still can't get the live stream back up to play, so I don't know what's going on Facebook.
Leigh, that's very strange. Well, I sort of hope it's going, Leigh. We haven't had a response, but who knows? Maybe it's falling over for some of the guys. Okay, so the video's finished, so I'm going to put you two guys back up. There we go. So, okay, John, I'm going to go with you. There's a $5.50 token in this if you take a swing at it and manage to hit. I'll even go with the sissy. If you get the sissy right,
For me?
you're in.
Manchester?
Oh, he's just nailed it. He's nailed it. That is Bury
winner.
New Road in Manchester.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pete Wigglesworth went Junction 10. So Junction 10 is
Walsall,
isn't
right?
it?
Yeah, it's definitely not Walsall.
Yeah. No, so
Bury New
I
Road
got it
in
straight
Manchester,
off.
guys.
I got it straight off because of the prison.
I was going to say,
Didn't know it was the prison. Where's the prison?
You see the prison.
Oh, is that it on the right?
Yeah. See the see it's the six-sided. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
nice.
It's like a pentagon shaped building. Was that the one?
Yeah. And when
Okay.
you stay at the I think it's the travel lodge down the road from there. Yeah, if you ask nicely, they will give you a prison view room.
Oh, nice. Sweet.
Which is lovely.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah.
So Peter was saying Strange Ways. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So
Although
listen, Leigh.
I don't think it's called Strange Ways now. I think they renamed it. Because I think obviously Strange Ways had a fairly a reputation. I think that's what if I'm right, I think they changed it.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to run a second one, right, Leigh? I think you might get this one. I think this might be a challenging one, but I think you'll get it. So I'm going to run a second one. guys.
I'd probably be on the basis I've actually.
Well,
John,
you've been
must
to
have
them
been
all.
to these. Yeah. So,
All right, see if you recognise this one. There is a big tell. There is a big tell in this one. Anyway, let me roll it. So there's no vouchers on this one, guys. But let me roll it.
1! Alright!
Okay, here we go.
yeah.
You know it.
I'm pretty sure I do. Anyway, yeah.
Did you spot the tell on the zoom in?
Well, yes, if it's what I think it is, yeah.
What do you think, John?
But it's not. It's actually a very difficult one because it's.
Casino's part. It's just part of that building. But the tell is about to appear in the background here. Peter Wigglesworth's got this one. Well done, my friend. You're absolutely right. Where's the tell? I'm pretty sure it pops up again. Maybe not. That is Asper's in Newcastle, of course. And on the zoom in, you get to see in quite a level of detail. Let's see if we can. Let me do that. You get to see St. James's Park, which is remarkably close to it. I didn't know St. James's Park was this close.
No, St. James's Park is right in the middle.
Look at that.
city, but up quite high as well.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. So there we go, guys. That is Aspers in Newcastle. Do you want to do a football stadium, Leigh? Do you fancy your chances on a football stadium tonight?
well, after my one last week,
Yeah, it was
honestly,
pretty poor. It was pretty poor. Right, John.
It was a very poor effort.
A football stadium, right? There's a competition between the two of you.
To be fair, John, he gave me Leicester City last week, right? which is about as generic a football stadium as you're going to get. Yeah. It could have been. You could have just picked one of any number.
Oh, I don't know. Right, gents, between the two of you, right? We're going to play a football stadium. You get one shot at this, right? First to name it wins. You don't win anything, unfortunately, but here we go.
Hang on, name the stadium.
Name the stadium.
Anfield. Old Trafford. No. Ellen Road?
John.
It's Leeds United.
It is Ellen Road. Ellen Road. Yeah. Oh, so funny. Anfield, Old Trafford. Really?
I can't quite see.
It does have the big. It's got one big stand.
Or one big stand, yeah.
One big stand. That is Ellen Road. You'd need eagle eyes, but it does say Leeds United on the outside of that other stand there. Okay, gents, let's go back to the pokers, where we are heads up.
Heads up in the Sunday roller, and it's the two chip leaders from earlier on, Andreas and Tony. Stanislav finished in third place. So these guys are now locked up for $430 for second place. So still playing for nearly $200 for whichever one of them takes this down. Eagle-eyed. I'm impressed with Pete Wigglesworth getting Newcastle on that.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, because it wasn't an easy spot, to say the least. That is for sure. So, what do you think then regarding live poker? So, I heard that they've confirmed that the World Series will happen this year, but not in the normal dates. That was kind of the headline that came out this week.
What dates have they gone for?
They haven't said. All they said is it won't be the usual dates. So.
Yeah, I think when you had me on last, I was saying no World Series this year and not next year, which i.e. this year. But I mean, we didn't expect a vaccine to appear so soon. But the same about travel for the football and stuff, isn't it? It's like, how many thousands of people come to Vegas for the World Series from all over the world? I can't.
A lot of people.
I can't see how they're going to do it. Like, unless by that point America has some kind of vaccine passport.
When would you? So tell me this. So when would you be comfortable getting on a plane to go to Vegas for even just for a couple of weeks? What would need to happen for you to be comfortable with it?
What, for me personally?
Yeah.
Well, I'd need a vaccine myself, obviously, but I think the infection rates would have to come down so low that I would do it
in America as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know the science of the effect of thousands of people congregating at a mass event and then going home. I don't know what effect, because they haven't done it. They haven't done anything like that in. I guess you'd have to see what happened with the Euros. If they sort of implement something like the Euros where they allow people to travel and it doesn't have an adverse effect, then I guess something like the World Series would be okay. But again, the problem with the World Series is it's live poker, and you're sat next to at a table next to people handling the same chips and cards and mingling and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a weird one. We had Yvonne on, who's the TD at the Malta Poker Festival, on the latest episode of the Orbit, which we'll mention a bit more about in the next hour of the show. And she was saying they're planning on doing it, but they were talking, she's talking about kind of 5 and 6 handed tables and all this kind of thing as tournaments. And it's like, I mean, it's tough to know how how a live venue can actually make that even a break-even position. If you're not able to have, it's all about having 9 and 10 people around a table with one dealer, isn't it? That's how it works. That's how you make money. You know?
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, I mean, Malta's sort of avoided it quite the worst of it. I think, haven't they? I think they'd be in a good position to start running stuff again.
But it would still require people to be traveling to Malta to play.
Yeah. I don't know what difference it would make having it 5 or 6 handed. I mean, still people touching chips and cards, and
I think, and that's the thing, as you said earlier on, I think it's not so much about your proximity to the person next to you as such. It's more about the chips and the cards being moved around the table, and not just around the table, from table to table. You know, oh, it's a table break. It's like, what are we doing? We all we all going for a quick shower before we change tables. What are you going to do?
I think they've sort of talked about maybe cleaning the chips and cards regularly, but I don't know how you do individual players stacks. I don't know how that's going to work.
And but the problem you've got is that the minute it only takes one person to come in who actually, has got it and is not that necessarily hand sanitized properly or whatever, or and it starts, and of course it just off it goes.
Yeah,
it's just going to be rife in that environment.
And do they know yet how well, or someone who's been vaccinated could transmit it? Someone could.
Well, apparently that was some news that came out, I want to say beginning of the week, maybe, where they'd started doing some testing on that. It might have been Oxford Uni lot, and apparently the feedback from that was very, very positive. That actually it was like 95% stopping it from you being able to transmit it once you've had the vaccine.
Okay, right.
So that was, they were quite confident that was good, but obviously that was only initial tests and research done. They're still learning as they go, obviously, with a lot of this.
Yeah. I don't know. I think if someone like the World Series said we are able to shut down for another few more months and do it in February or something like that without too much effect, adverse effect to the business and all that sort of thing, then they should do that, I think. Or just wait. It's every year, you don't. But it's a bit worrying if you're in the seniors, isn't it? Or the super seniors.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to be in that room, do you?
There's only 24 players signed up to that one this year.
Yeah, at the moment, so.
And 18 of them were no-shows.
They have to play online from a care home or something.
But it's interestingly, obviously, the World Series did effectively an online with a live final table, and it wasn't a disaster, but it was. You obviously had both the US version and what they call the international version had its own problems with individuals that couldn't play.
Yeah.
And then the actual eventual heads up thing. I mean, Des has played the video of it, and it's pretty tame, to say the least. It's hardly
depressing.
It's hardly great viewing. So I don't think that did the brand a huge amount of good.
No.
Really. And of course you had the whole thing over whether they actually had run the actual event in the summer already and were crowning champion. So it was, the whole thing was a bit of a mess, really.
Yeah, that didn't help with Negreanu kind of getting involved and all that sort of thing, wasn't it?
It's not like he's had anything else to be getting on with in the past few months, is it really? Yeah.
No, but if we had a World Series, does that mean we would stop having to hear about Doug Polk versus Daniel Negreanu?
Oh, absolutely. Just the thought of Daniel stood there with his giant beef sausage in his hand. I'm not sure I can handle it any longer.
Did you see the one the other day, the Doug Polk thing? He was he was commentating on one of the heads up games on GG, and they called it out for being fake and being a setup.
Not really? No, I didn't hear it.
Have you seen? Oh, yeah. Check this out. Might
didn't see
have
that.
Broken in the last 24, 48 hours, but they were. I'll have to look it up. It was. I think it might have been Lappin, Dave Lappin, that was that kind of was tweeting about it. But yeah, and I've watched the video of it, and they're watching the stream, and he's just kind of going, well, this is just ridiculous play. This doesn't make any sense. You know, why? And it got to the point where they just went, no, I think this is a setup. We're gonna, and they stopped following the stream of it. It's incredible.
So he didn't know, he wasn't aware of it.
No, he wasn't aware. They were following one of the heads up games, and it just went whether this doesn't feel right. And so stopped. Yeah, decided actually no, we're not going to. I'm not watching any more of this. This is a nonsense. It's either been just done as a PR exercise or so it was Feder Holtz versus Limitless.
Okay.
And literally that broke in the last day or two. You know, and yeah, it's an interesting video to watch because it's pretty much kind of him going, well, why would you do this? Why would you do that? Either these guys are the worst heads up players in the world, or it's just being fake to get people on the site and following. That's what happened. So meanwhile, Tony Griffiths has won the Sunday Roller.
Wow,
Very well done to you.
There you go. Let's see if we can get the deep stack up.
Yeah, and so yeah, but this is the trouble. There's so many of these things, interesting stories now around these kind of these grudge matches or heads up matches or just challenges that seem to be going on. But it seems to be more compelling viewing for people. I think poker players have got a little bit bored of just the the one player multi-tabling and it's being streamed. It isn't as interesting. I saw Party Poker last night launch their new game night on a Saturday night, which has got a similar kind of feel to what we do. It's a bit more social and a bit more chatty, and they follow a bit of poker, but actually really they're just having a chat and about what's going on in the world.
Can't be anywhere near as good, Leigh.
I doubt it. They've got the caliber of guests.
There we go.
Our caliber of guests is way higher.
It's far higher. Our budget is stratospheric in comparison.
But it is interesting that there is a realization that you need to that they're looking at their content, and I must admit, Party have upped their game with their the stuff they've been doing for the millions, kind of the new graphic setup and everything, and the show feel, the production quality is really good, and fair play to all of the team over there, and James Dempsey that kind of leads that the commentary team on that. It is really neat.
Like it very much.
Looks very impressive.
Yeah, he's always been very good, hasn't he, James Dempsey?
I completely agree with that. So, but they've all got to realize they've got to do that, John. I mean, again, it's a sign of the times, isn't it? It's what people actually are interested in. And interestingly, when we were talking earlier on about the Gorovna pros, I can't think who it was in the chat that said, but obviously they've kept Jamie Nixon, who's their streamer. Because that's ultimately where this
guys,
going, isn't it? Really?
Guys, none of these shows, right? None of these other big brands can stretch to our creativity stealing when it comes to showing some really imaginative content, right? So I've got a little segment here for you while we are, believe it or not, on a little break. Are we on a little break? No, we must be at a pay jump or something. In the deep stack.
Yeah, they're playing hand for hand. It's on the cash bubble. They're 17 and they're paying 16.
Check, so okay. These are football inspired videos, right? So take a well-known song and put a football-inspired layer over it, which I think is a better explanation than I gave you before we went live.
To be honest, the explanation you gave to us pre-show
terrible, wasn't it?
was appalling.
It was terrible. It was really bad. So I've got three of them, right? I've got a top three. Okay. For me, this is number 3. Okay. Let's play it. Fantastic Warnock, right? Absolutely superb, bittersweet, and you're gonna love this one.
It looks so evil in this video.
Yeah, it's a beautiful fit, and it's the fact that they're not perfect sort of makes these. This is Charlie Austin, Southampton, right?
Well, if they said it's offside, hit mine, I didn't. I hit it twice, hit me, Bob, that's why I done Foster. The best league in the world, the most watched league in the world. Now, give them all the help they need, because clearly they cost us 2 points a day. It's a joke. Put all that to bed. This week worked hard, come here to get 3 points. We deserve 3 points today. We've been let down by the officials. That's why we didn't get 3 points.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's good.
It's absolutely
really
brilliant.
good. Yeah,
Absolutely brilliant. And this would have to come in at number 1. You've probably seen this one. This is Mr. Parker, who's enjoyed a wonderful day today at Anfield. And yeah, I like this one.
The questions were coming, you know, can you look forward to it? Can you enjoy the moments? And the facts are, and the reality is that you can't really. You can't. You win a football match, and by the time you get to Saturday night and you're drinking a beer or having a little bit of Chinese, you're all of a sudden thinking about Monday morning and what the next game is. We live in a world and we live in a profession where you win a game, you lose the next one, and you're deemed as a failure. You realise that you always have to be at the top of it and always planning. So, look, not for me. I hope that after tomorrow I can just
Dry your eyes, babe. I know it's hard to take, but her mind has been made up. There's plenty more fish in the sea. Dry your eyes, babe. I know you want to make us see how much this pain hurts, but you've got to walk away now. It's over.
just sit down with a family. I can sit down with my wife and kids who probably for the last year at times have been on eggshells at different moments, and just get their husband back and get their dad back, who just does the things what I want to do really, and without sounding a little bit cheesy and a bit thingy, I suppose that's it, and I hope I can do that.
Yeah, it's not cheesy at all. It shows the human side of you, Scott.
It's not cheesy at all, boys. If I didn't want to kill him, right, I'd want to hug him. It's just a beautiful piece of creativity there from whoever was captioned on the internet a little while ago. Scotty Parker, of course.
That's great.
That was great. It was a lovely little segment. Some people are just geniuses with what they can do with content on the internet. So, you know, thankfully, it doesn't look like we've been pulled down. That's good. We might lose the section tomorrow, though. We'll have to wait and see on that.
We'll be fine.
Oh, really? Someone going to have a word with you?
Well, who knows? I mean, YouTube or Facebook, you know, it's sort of really interesting in that they will sometimes say, well, we need to remove that segment if you don't have permission in certain markets.
Okay.
And then nearly always leave, they're totally comfortable with the UK, but in certain other markets, they're less comfortable.
Okay.
Which I get, absolutely. You know, it's somebody else's content. So we're being a bit cheeky, although there's all sorts of reasons why you can use little clips of content. You know, if you're commenting on it, that sort of stuff. You know, if you're not just showing it to show it, sort of thing. But yeah, I thought they were novel. So hope you enjoyed them.
So whilst we're on Scotty Parker, let's discuss. I genuinely thought that 5 home defeats in a row was just ridiculous. But hey, that's the way it went, and there's no way was it going to go to 6. There was just absolutely no way was it going to go to 6 home defeats in a row from a team that had been unbeaten at home in how long?
3.5 years,
18 years, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. What is going on? How do you even get your heads around what is going on?
It's like for Liverpool fans, it's I don't know, Des, but it's like the biggest. What's the word I'm looking for? Sort of self-analysis, isn't it? Sort of psychological analysis that you'd ever give yourself. Going, what is going on? What is going wrong with it? And you start delving inside their brains and going, they're obviously all depressed, or they all want to leave, or they're all too old, or their legs have fallen off, or something, and you start going through these excuses, and then you start.
I said to Des earlier on, I said it's the most mind-boggling thing. I said I don't know how Liverpool fans are even getting their head around how the wheels have fallen off at home, quite the way it has. Obviously, injuries and everything is but still 6 in a row is just incredible.
I mean, I've read. Funny enough, I read an article today on the Liverpool Echo from May last year. So it was written a week after they won the league, and it's really interesting to read. You go back and read it, and it talks about most of it talks about how it went wrong for Klopp in Germany, and it's really interesting reading a year on the parallels. So he won back-to-back leagues. And then in his last year, he came 7th, and he was like 25 points behind Bayern or whatever, and the wheels fell off. But the thing that they say in there, where he was, he couldn't replace players, so he may have sold someone on and couldn't get the players in, and he had to leave. And this is the last paragraph of the article. It says, Liverpool fans will not look forward to the day that Klopp will say goodbye. That will likely not be until 2024. But they need not worry that a similar final season could be in store. And that's how the article. And we're going, that's where they are. That's where they are now.
Yeah, the issue, I mean, look, the challenge with that comparison is that Klopp was continually losing his best players at Dortmund. He was losing them to Bayern Munich, like his biggest competitor. So the way it ended up there isn't a massive surprise. No. I think if we're honest about it, Liverpool haven't played well. Crikey. I mean, Liverpool had an amazing season last season. I think for long periods of it, they didn't play well. I think they were just stronger. They were just able to get over the line versus some of the other teams. They never dominated in a way that City did during, City's 2 years at the top. In that, Liverpool never turned around and trounced anybody. There was none of that. It was very, very rare. I mean, you would argue the 4-0 away win at Leicester in December of last season was probably our best performance of our title-winning season. So, arguably, I had more fun watching Liverpool in 2017-18, in the year when they got to the European Cup final but lost to Madrid, because they were very swashbuckling. They scored a ton of goals. They didn't win anything, but they were great to watch. So then they become more defensively strong, and that changed slightly their method of approaching games. So obviously went on and won a European Cup, then won the league. So I think they've had 3 or 4 very demanding seasons. I think coupled with all of the injuries, and you just can't escape it. The injuries have had a huge impact on initially the team, right? Because you lost a couple of great central defenders, then you lost the B-grade central defenders, then you put midfielders in their place, which meant you lost them in midfield. So that had an impact, and I wasn't too freaked, up to the last 2 games. I've been really freaked over the Chelsea and the Fulham game today, because what they didn't have in either of those games was fight, right? It's like they left their fight in the dressing room. Now, if you look at all of the other games that they've lost this season, invariably they've dominated them, and the problem has been they just haven't been able to score goals, right? So that's a very specific issue, right, that you can either deal with or not deal with, but that was the issue. It wasn't necessarily too much about the defense. Yes, they were losing to breakaway goals, but they were having a lot of the ball, there were a lot of possession, they just couldn't score. But if you look at the Chelsea game, and then a lot of the ball in the Chelsea game, but I thought Chelsea looked very dangerous in that game. I thought they carried the ball very well, created a lot of chances. You even look at Fulham today, similarly, they might have had slightly less possession, but that's ridiculous for Fulham to come to Anfield to nearly have as much possession as Liverpool. So it feels like it's a continual decline, and the decline is now at the point that it's really hurting the confidence of the team. So, I think we just need to get through the rest of the season. I think we've got a very important match on, I'm not sure, Tuesday night or Wednesday night away in Budapest against Leipzig. Now, it's the home leg. We're 2-0 up, last 16 of the European Cup. I'd like to see us get through there. Not necessarily that I think we can, go through another 3 rounds of the European Cup, but you'd have to say we have performed better in environments where teams are coming and playing us. They're coming to attack us. They're taking us on. They think we're weak. I think that's a better environment for Liverpool at the moment. and expectations are low. So while I think, the objective has to be, let's just get through the season without, the fans going ape shit, the manager getting sacked or any of that nonsense. Let's just get through the season. Hopefully have a decent preseason ahead of us. Come back for a new campaign. I don't immediately think we'll be the Liverpool that you saw last season, not at all. But I think, with the addition of one or two players in the squad and a fully fit squad, I think there's every chance we can get back to being a challenger again. And right now, I'd snap your hand off for that.
But how does that sit as fans when it was only 9 months ago and the talk was this team could dominate and be winning multiple titles for the next decade kind of thing.
But who was saying that? Who was actually saying that? I didn't believe that. It
seemed to be a very strong case. Okay, it's the media, so you take it with a pinch of salt, but certainly there was a vibe there from, I think, not just the media, but also the fans. I mean, I don't think there was any Liverpool fans that were going, "Oh, well, that's our one title," or "That was enjoyable."
No, I think that's absolutely fair enough. But I don't think too many Liverpool fans who understand football, right? Because you get an awful lot of fans today who just don't understand the game. They're just fans because, do you know what? They're fans of individual players, or they're just fans because it makes sense to be fans. But they don't necessarily understand the game. I mean, how many games last year did Liverpool come from behind in or win by a single goal? There was tons of them. What got them over the line in many of those games last season, they don't have available to them this year, and that was this, will to win, because they've actually won now. So they won the Premier League, so they don't have that motivation this season. So, I'm not, that wouldn't have been my expectation that we'd have dominated.
But you say that though, Des, but do you not, when you think of the United sides of the 90s and the 2000s, the Liverpool side of the 70s and the 80s, that will to win was to win year after year after year. And if you've got that bunch of players there that have gone, right, okay, we've finally, and to be fair, you probably should have won it the year before. It's just the Man City had a ridiculous, campaign. So that's been 2 years where you've been at the peak. But is that just a case of modern football now, where actually a team, even Man City, can't do? They've struggled to win.
The reality is,
to retain the title these days is really tough.
One of the things that Liverpool would have always done in the past is they'd have strengthened from a point of being at their peak, right? They would always do that. And, the big argument that the fans would make at the moment, if you want to listen to it, is that FSG have let the team down by not investing from this point of strength, because Chelsea have certainly gone out and spent 250 million. City have, City have got hundreds of millions worth of pounds worth of talent just on the bench. So they're continually strengthening. United have spent a few quid. So I don't think there was ever going to be a situation whereby if you weren't investing in competition with those types of big clubs, that you were going to be able to stay ahead. It just wasn't feasible. And unfortunately, when we had the injury issues, the boys up front lost form, and we didn't have the ability to bring anyone in of significant, impact. So Jota got injured 3 months ago, right? So he scored 7 or 8 goals in 8 or 9 games. Looked like he could challenge some of the front three, but he got injured. So you've had to play Mane, Salah, Firmino, match after match after match after match. They're not in form, so it completely degrades their confidence. There's no break for them. And I don't mean, they need 90 minutes off. It's just that you need somebody else in there to score a few goals to re-kickstart.
And to be fair, this season has been pretty much weekend midweek for all of the top teams. I mean, Tristan says in the chat, he even remembers people saying, "Is this the best Premiership team ever?" Talking about the Liverpool team from last season. I do remember that debate was going on massively. Okay, again, it's a lot in the media and TV,
but that would have been based on results, right? But if you remember, like in our 7th or 8th game of the campaign, we were a goal down to Aston Villa in like the 88th minute. I managed to nick 2 goals in the last 2 or 3 minutes. We did that continually. We were behind at Southampton and managed to win it with a very late Mo Salah goal. we did that continually. We nicked late goals. Liverpool were known for being mentality monsters, and that was all about being that classic old United trait of, you know, we're going to go to the 94th minute and we will get you. I think they did that magnificently, but how much of that was about fitness as opposed to skill? Because, you know, while the front three were all star names, there was nobody in Liverpool's midfield that you'd have looked at particularly and said, hey, amazing star midfielder there. There was no Kevin De Bruyne, right? You had an engine room.
No, but you had the players that did it. It's interestingly, Gary Neville, your mate on Twitter.
My mate Gar, Gaz.
Gnev2 on Twitter. He did a quick 15-minute Q&A the other day, and one of the questions got asked is, who's the most underrated player in the Premier League? And do you know who he answered?
I don't know, Fabinho?
Wijnaldum.
Yeah, I think he's been magnificent this season, I have to say. But there's only so much you can ask him to do. So I think the equilibrium in particular has slipped. Oh, as we lose our table.
As we hit the final table.
Well, we'll get that up. I think the equilibrium has really flipped big style at Liverpool. So I guess my point would be, Leigh, I sort of, you know, I'm mature enough to be able to look at it and sort of accept it, right? I'm not without my frustrations. I'm sure Jon has his frustrations, but I'm willing to accept it, because at the end of the day, if you'd come to me 2 years ago and said, right, Des, I'll give you a fourth and a fourth, or I'll give you a first and an eighth, I'd have taken the first and the eighth.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it.
What does he do this summer? Because let's say you write off this season. Like, you look at the great United sides, he always restructured, didn't he, after a win?
Yeah.
And that's not, because you kind of forget that this project's happened over a few years. So it's not just Liverpool suddenly winning Champions League and the league. You know, they've had some really good years built up to this. And those players have been around, but they're getting on, some of them. You know, so what?
Yeah.
And I think someone like Salah or Mane, Firmino, probably thinking, if I don't go now, to go somewhere else, that might be it. I might be sort of stuck here. And I think maybe that
Salah has that look of a player that
I want to go and just do something else.
I want to go and I want that big move, you know, to have a chance to play for a Barcelona or a Real Madrid or whatever before I'm too old to do it. He's got that look of a player.
Despite the goals, and he's a magnificent goal scorer. You know, I don't think there's, I don't think there's too many fans that would cry terribly were Salah to go and be replaced by a Haaland or an Mbappe. Honestly, and you know, those sorts of deals most definitely are in discussion. I think, you know, COVID has really impacted the club's decision making this year in terms of a big summer window or a January window. Because frankly, at one point, we just didn't know where the next injury was coming from. So we didn't know what, what holes to fill.
Even come the summer, guys, do you think there's going to be a big transfer push this? Because, I mean, I think clubs are looking at their numbers and going, there's not a huge amount of money. They don't think they reckon the next... United just put out their latest financials, and they made it very clear that they didn't feel the next UK TV deal would be up. It would be down. But they thought they would make it up with international TV money, but they weren't talking positively about there was going to be this great pool of money coming in and they'd be able to go and splash the cash on. You know, when you've still got the likes of Borussia Dortmund still thinking that Sancho's worth 120 million and all this kind of thing. Nobody at the moment seems to have taken into account the fact that clubs have lost a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, huge amount of money.
But that's the problem. If Liverpool do say they got rid of Salah, you know, to fund, like they did with Coutinho, funding Alisson and Van Dijk. But if they get rid of, say, Salah, for example, who's going to get him? Who's going to pay that kind of money?
No one's got the money. Barcelona don't know.
Barcelona,
Real Madrid don't. Real Madrid are trying to desperately to fund, well, Mbappe, so I think ideally that is who they'd like to have. Bayern Munich have always been very clever about where they get their players from and what they do. And there's rumor that Haaland might go, that'd be the one that they break the bank with him with. I mean, how old's Lewandowski now? He's 30, 31?
Haaland's coming to Anfield, right? With that one's done.
Is he really? Did you see the Bayern Munich Borussia Dortmund game?
I did, yeah. I did, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible game.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
4-2 to Bayern Munich in the end. Dortmund 2 up.
Yeah.
Did he score? He scored 2 goals, didn't he?
Yeah.
Did
He scored two. He scored 2 early
What,
on. Then
9
went
or
off
10
injured.
minutes? It was like,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he's some
Lewandowski
striker.
scored 2. It was 2 all at half time. Lewandowski with 2 and Haaland with 2. It was just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Yeah.
he's a machine.
But how much is he going to cost, Haaland?
Well, he'll probably have. I mean, there'll probably be a release clause, right? Because to be
The release
honest,
clause apparently doesn't kick in till the following year, and it's not huge.
yeah, it's not going to be
Something
huge
about
because
70,
why?
It's about 70 million, but that's what they're saying is they might do it this summer where the release clause isn't in play.
Yeah,
and therefore
but that's
it can be
inevitably
serious
that
amount.
is going to have some sort of impact on the selling fee. So it's not going to be 150 because of the 70 release, right? Nobody's going to pay an extra 80 million to get him a season early.
Well, they will if it means they get him.
I'm not sure they will. I'm not sure that anyone will pay 150
Well,
if they can have him the following year for 80.
Do you think it's genuinely going to be a case of he's going to choose? He'll go to where he wants to go then.
Well, I
And you actually
think
think that the choice is
110,
available.
120.
You think-
Yeah, I think so.
You think Liverpool? You genuinely think he would choose to go to Liverpool?
I think there's a
Of his
possibility. Yeah,
options.
yeah.
Okay, next one. Do you think Steven Gerrard is going to end up there while Klopp goes to Germany, which seems to be a lot of the...
Well, I'm not buying the Klopp 22 Germany. I mean, I'm not buying that. I think Klopp's got a contract at 24. I think he'll go to 24. Gerrard's done well. He's done magnificent, right? What a incredible title win today.
Well, who'd
Scored
have, who'd have thought that genuinely that he'd have so quickly broken the
Yeah.
stranglehold of
Yeah.
Celtic?
But he's always had one eye, obviously, on coming back to Liverpool. I mean, he
Yeah.
must have done,
And
because
you know
he's
what?
got unfinished business.
He's done it in a very, very smart way, right? Going to Scotland, picking an enormous club that has been in a doldrum, but you don't get lucky, right? He's created an amazing defence.
Well, if you compare the
had
two,
three
so you
great
compare
seasons.
him and Lampard, compare
Classic
the two, about
comparison.
how they've gone with
Yeah.
the managerial start.
Derby, Chelsea, and out.
Yeah.
And you might not see Lampard back.
No.
Yeah,
Genuinely,
I agree.
you might not see him back.
I agree. Whereas Gerrard's on a high now. Celtic are in some disarray. It's going to be hard to see them challenging too hard next season because I don't think the money is there to really invest in the team. So Gerrard could have, 2 or 3 great seasons at Rangers, and he's just going to sit and wait for Klopp to vacate. And as long as he doesn't make any dramatic mistakes, then he'll have gained experience. He'll have gained European experience. He'll have won titles. He'll have signed players. He'll have managed in big clubs. His CV will be excellent.
Billy Johnson says in the chat, he's definitely polished his CV now.
He certainly has. Yeah, he's done a great job. Great job.
Yeah, very, very sensible, and that is what it's about: choosing the right, thing, and actually being prepared to say, oh, okay, I'm going to put 2 or 3 years aside to do this, and it's a project, and we'll see where we go with it. It's probably happened a bit quicker than he might have thought it would have done, actually. If I'm honest.
Yeah. Although I think he's shown
Celtic have imploded in a weird from such a stranglehold in that Scottish league.
Yeah.
But they
But
imploded
there was
because
there was no competition for them. I
Yeah,
what were they
I
on,
think
10 in a row. 10 in a row was it?
Yeah.
10?
they were going for 10. They were going for 10. But
And they were going,
they've
was it
won
going for
loads of
four- was it four
trebles in a
row?
row, something like that.
I mean,
Yeah, it's just insane.
Just ridiculous.
At the minute Brendan Rodgers walked away and Neil Lennon, and I wasn't ever sure about Neil Lennon going in there, but Rodgers had a great calming effect on the club. But it's worked out well for Gerrard, so we'll just have to see how that one plays out in years to come. But I'm in absolutely no rush to see Klopp going away.
You're right. He's got to get everyone back. He's got to start next season. You're right. Just write this season off.
Yeah.
Even if it means having a year out of Europe, which
quietly,
is very possible.
Quietly, we could be playing. Chelsea or another in a quarterfinal of a European Cup. You're only 3 matches away, 2 matches away from a final.
Yeah.
It's just not impossible because, frankly, we're still probably a stronger team this year than they were in 2005 when they made it through to the final and won it.
Yeah. Get through that way.
Would you rather know Europe if it wasn't Champions League?
Personally, yes.
Would that,
I
that
would,
be a
yeah.
better? Would that be a better solution for next season?
I don't know how that plays out for signing players. I don't know
Yeah,
how it
that's
plays out financially, but just personally, from a let's just get focused back in on the league.
yeah.
I
And maybe have a
absolutely,
cup run or something. You know, it'd be nice for him to get a home cup. You know, I know he hasn't really done anything in the FA Cup, hasn't really sort of paid attention, but
But I mean, you guys had the best possible start to the season, because obviously everyone else was busy fighting it out for this, that, and the other, and you were kind of, with your feet up at home, waiting for the new season to start, wondering what was going to go
top of
on.
the league at Christmas, Leigh. Obviously,
Yeah.
everybody was injured, but we were still top of the league at Christmas. Look where we are.
Exactly.
Now.
Well, we were doing the show and saying, as I couldn't explain how Man United was second in the league at one point and still are now, and I still can't quite work out how it's. And the scary thing is, if we'd actually sorted ourselves out and not drop points against teams we really shouldn't have been drawing against, we'd actually be up pretty close to Man City at the moment. I mean, we should never be drawing with.
I was so delighted.
West Brom and and Crystal Palace and we should have beaten Chelsea, and we should have beaten you guys, arguably, had the better chances. All of a sudden we'd be up there with Man City, and we shouldn't be up there. We're not anywhere near.
But I think we're looking at Man City as the best team ever. We're talking about them this season, but actually, they had a really slippery start to the season. They were like 7, 8, 9 points back at the in the early weeks.
As we say, this is just the most bonkers of Premier League seasons as I think there's ever been. I mean, it's just crazy, and with some ridiculous results. No fans being in means home and away doesn't seem to make a blind bit of difference to anything that's going on. I mean, I think we're now something like 18 matches unbeaten away from home.
That's insane.
What is that all about?
Wow.
It's gonna be very strange when the fans do come back.
Well, for Liverpool, I think it'll be a good thing.
What's going to be really weird is the fact that they'll go back to the normal TV schedules. At least I think they will. I mean,
Bring
I don't
it
know
on.
This has
I
maybe
hope
been
so.
a wake up call for them to say they go, well, actually, we can show all the games and we can do everything. Maybe they do say, well, actually, it's not going to affect the attendances, and therefore we'll do it.
What you mean, the times?
Yeah.
Do you mean?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, Spain has been doing this for a couple of seasons now, where every single game is on at a different time. So basically, they televise every one of them.
Right.
They've been doing this now for a couple of years. So they'll do, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, Saturdays and Sundays, basically, or the odd game on a Friday, and that's what they've been doing. And as much as I've got used to the fact that actually, if I wanted to watch I don't. I probably watch maybe 1 or 2 games on the weekend. That's about it. But I know there is plenty of people that will watch wall-to-wall football across the weekend, just to get one game after the next. There is something quite entertaining when you've got Roy Keane sat in between Graham Souness and Micah Richards after Liverpool and Man City have both lost, and he sat there like a smug Irish, quite enjoying. and you've got another hour of them talking about football afterwards. It's quite entertaining. I mean, it's something quite good about it. But
no, I'd prefer it. I'd prefer to go back to normal. Personally, I don't think I
missed the 3 o'clock. I missed the multiple games at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and Jeff Stelling and the boys,
exactly that.
And well, sorry, I shouldn't just say boys anymore, because obviously they've all been sacked, haven't they? So it's now the team.
Jeff and the team. Listen, talking about the girls, Leigh. Listen, talking about the girls, right? Monday, tomorrow, is International Women's Day, right? So we did something special for International Women's Day with the Orbit. Do you want to tell us, and maybe we can tease something that's going to happen tomorrow night?
We've had this in the planning for a little while, that we wanted to do an all-female poker panel for the Orbit with Robbie. So we managed to make that happen. So we've that got filmed about 10 days ago. So that's been produced. So that's going out tomorrow night for International Women's Day. We've also had another little project in the pipeline, which is we've wanted to for a little while, or I've been trying to talk the guys into, because I thought this was a great idea, as doing an after show a live after show where people could watch the episode and then basically engage with a panel and chat and talk about the show. So we've got that off the ground, and Natalie Bromley, who's lots of people will know from the APAT show, who's did a lot of stuff from the World Championships with us, very kindly said she would host it. So we've got her on tomorrow night with Robbie, and I'll let them say who the special guest is going to be, because I think you can play a clip.
Hello, I'm Natalie Bromley.
And I'm Robbie Straczynski.
And join us for the first ever episode of the Orbit Extra, live on Facebook this Monday for International Women's Day.
We're going to be discussing episode 9 of The Orbit, which featured Lynn Gilmartin, Diva Byrne, Rebecca McAdam, and Yvonne Montealegre. And our special guest for The Orbit Extra is going to be Team 888 Pro, Kara Scott. She's a poker legend. She's done the World Series of Poker, and she's going to be joining us.
We will be live to answer your questions straight after you've watched episode 9 of The Orbit.
Wow, there we go.
Very nice.
How cool is that?
Natalie's very good, isn't she?
Yes, she's absolutely superb. She's super excited. So she's she's had a preview of the episode. She's been messaging us all day. Going, I'm halfway through it. It's amazing. It's amazing. And is obviously super enthusiastic about poker. Super enthusiastic about kind of the women's issues, and not just in poker, but in the world in general. And he's also bloody brilliant as a host. I mean, it's just perfect. And I don't think doesn't always necessarily realize how damn good she actually is at what she does. And to manage to get Kara on the show tomorrow night is going to be amazing. So that will be live. So Robbie, Kara, and Natalie will be live on Facebook tomorrow. You'll be able to watch the episode 9 with the other guys, which is about an hour and a quarter in total, and then interact with Robbie, Kara, and Natalie to answer your questions or talk about what you've just seen. I mean, it's interesting. The kind of women in poker has been kind of this ongoing discussion, John. I mean, I can only imagine how many times it's been raised in interviews, and you've talked about it over the years. They have some fascinating views on whether it's even a thing.
Yeah, I've been asking, and we've been asking the same questions for 15 years, and I think the attitudes have changed quite a lot in some respects, even from 10 years ago. It was quite surprising, isn't it? Sort of, you do feel guilty actually having done magazines where I quite shamelessly put attractive female poker players in magazines, and done stuff that you just couldn't get away with now. And you just think, what was I even doing back then?
What was the thought process?
Back
at the
then?
time? Yeah.
At the time.
And the scary thing is when we say back then, we're not actually talking that long ago, are we?
It does seem like a lifetime away. I mean, we used to. I mean, I used to put if female poker players were good, we used to put them in magazines. That's not just bluff. That's all the magazines. I think the point is, and I'm not passing the blame, but the companies themselves would sponsor attractive players. If they were good at poker, that was a bonus. But if they were quite physically attractive as well, that was just brilliant for them. And as magazines, we'd report on these players. So it wasn't us saying, well, we're only putting this girl in the poker mag because she's attractive. These companies were sponsoring these players in the first place. I think that's not to say that, there were not like amazing female poker players out there. Just weren't that many players out there, who women who played poker sort of 15 years ago professionally. I remember we did something quite different. I think it was WPT. We did a top 50 hottest poker players just to do something different, because we hadn't really done it. And and it didn't quite fit. And this, even then when we did it, it didn't quite fit with sort of the tone of the magazine. And I got slagged off on 2+2 from someone going, "Oh, this is outrageous. What world are we living in? What year are we living in?" And I remember at the time going, "Okay, I don't really understand your argument at the time." Looking back, it was kind of, I'm a bit horrified sort of looking back on it, to do something like that. But yeah, just sort of things that you've done 10, 15 years ago that you just wouldn't do in magazines now.
Yeah.
But as you say, it is the case that a lot of the companies were using it because their main demographic was blokes,
Yeah.
and therefore if attractive females, I mean, we always used to say, I mean, it got talked about. I don't think actually it gets talked about on the show, but the great thing about producing that show is the chat beforehand, the chat in the little bit we have a little break if anyone needs it, and then the chat that goes on afterwards, which none of it gets used because they're just free and chat. And a lot of times it's just guys getting together and being supportive and haven't seen each other for a while, and you're just kind of in this virtual call listening to the friends talking. Like sometimes they even forget you're even there, and it's quite mad. But yeah, they were talking about, well, the WPT used to be, you'd go into the room and it would be the only females, and they would be the ones that were handing the trophy over.
Yeah.
And that, how crazy was that?
Yeah. And I remember WPT a couple of years ago hosted a women in poker conference about what to do about getting more women working in the industry, quite, not just PR, but all sorts, decision level. And I said, "Are you still using raw flush? Oh, you got rid of the raw flush girls then?" And they went, "Oh, no, we still have them, but we've got a man with them now, so it's okay."
That's all right then.
Yeah, it was. Oh God, I can't.
Who is it? Which was the site? Which was the tournament where they did a women's and they had the male dealers topless or dressed in Mickey bows, and the female players went mad.
Yeah,
quite, because it's just nonsense. It just,
yeah, which shows that it can be ridiculous both ways as well. And
I remember at the Goliath once they did a ladies only tournament where the queens were worth more than the kings or something like that, and the female players were absolutely up in arms, just saying, "Look, we don't need a gimmick here.
Yeah,
we're quite happy with the suit rankings. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Why can we not just get on with it as well? We don't need a gimmick to actually have a ladies only tournament.
Yeah,
you can have a ladies only tournament if that's what you want to have, but a lot of them were even saying we don't even need that.
It's
not relevant.
I think in like in a lot of areas of life and industry, there's a big conversation to be had about how we get more women into the game and how we approach it. But I think from a marketing point of view, I don't think sponsoring attractive female poker players is going to stop anytime soon. Just as the same as most female poker presenters have usually been quite attractive when men haven't. I think that's just a thing that Des, you've worked in TV, you'll know a bit more about it than me. But I mean,
don't pass the ball, please.
Yeah,
that's like a murder ball.
Here's the ball. I'm running off the pitch, and you can take it up from here. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we look like some of the Sky Poker shows. The anchors were with some of the female anchors who were quite sort of physically attractive. Maybe got in not for their poker knowledge first, and
I could name you 3 who you might deem incredibly attractive women who are all extremely well known, both in poker and one of them out of poker, who all at one point or other approached me and sort of said, is there any way I could get a job on Sky Poker presenting poker, because I really like poker. And they all looked absolutely fabulous, and none of them ever got the job. So that wasn't really a big thing for me, I have to say.
The thing is, it's a two-way thing with it, isn't it? Because the trouble is, you also get the situation now where if an attractive person, whether be male or female, doesn't really matter, gets a particular job, it's straight away assumed, oh, it's because of their looks,
Yeah.
rather than just their ability to. There's the lady that does the Leeds United football stuff.
Yeah. She's on the BBC now, isn't she?
And she's on the BBC. Yeah, she's on the BBC now as
Emma
well.
Jones.
Kind of,
Is it Emma Jones?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's and she's openly admitted that it wasn't really into football when she first of all got the gig with Leeds, but is now absolutely, fallen in love, which is perfectly fair, because it's always just assumed that, oh well, you just say that now because you're now making money out of it and blah blah blah. It's like, but people can fall in and out of and get more experienced at something and their ability to do stuff. Yeah, I mean, you were used to have Jules Jules Breach on the Sky show, who now does BT Sport, doesn't she? On a Saturday afternoon, super knowledgeable on football and obviously loved a poker as well. It's weird, isn't it? But it's just straight away that's what's assumed. It's that's it's all to do with their looks rather than anything else.
But then we still get situations like the rugby commentator recently who was abused on social media.
We talked about that last week, in
the after the England match, who was abused, and that's a society thing. That's nothing to do with being picked for a sports show, and I think poker is the same. But I don't know. I mean, has someone like Kara Scott, for example, maybe there's something to ask her on when she's on the show, or who's the girl who did Poker After Dark? I can't remember her name now. Wherever her name was, can't remember. Did they get abuse because from men saying, well, you don't understand how this hand's played, or I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, there were, if you go back to the Sky example, there were two roles that were typically on screen. One would have been a presenter and the other would have been an analyst.
Yeah.
So one would have, had skills that the other didn't have, and vice versa. So the presenter, particularly at Sky, which was a very formal studio setting, it was a green screen, right? The entire room was green. So it'd send you absolutely nuts to work in there for hours. You were probably down there, John, right? It was an entire green screen studio. The presenter had to know how to do auto cue with the director in their ear. That's really hard to do. It's not ad-libbing. It's not just doing what we're doing, which is having a chat to camera. They literally were working to a schedule of timed events. They had somebody in their ear at all times, and they had to read an auto cue, which again is just not, all of that stuff was really, really difficult. So to get that type of job, there was no benefit whatsoever to being like really amazingly good looking. It was very much about, if you didn't have the skills to be able to do this, you would never ever be considered for it. So Cara absolutely had those skills, and of course she went on to be a runner-up in the Irish Open shortly after that, and then I think she had like a seriously deep run in the World Series of Poker main event before going on, obviously, for the last few years and working for ESPN doing their World Series of Poker coverage. So, an absolute star. But I think Cara initially wouldn't have been there to talk about the poker. She'd have been there to physically present and run the show. And her knowledge became such that actually she became in her own right a really great player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Yeah. It seems a long time ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's gone quickly, but yeah, it does actually, in many respects. So how are we doing here, Leigh? We're completing a break.
We're just on a break. On a break. There's five players left in the Sunday Deep Deck. So yeah, the Orbit episode 9. If anyone's interested, it airs at 6 o'clock UK time tomorrow. You can watch it on Facebook Live at 6 o'clock, and then join Natalie and Robbie and Cara for the after show if you want to. That starts at 7:15, or you can just watch it on demand if you just want to watch the show. You can do that as well. That's available on Twitch. .tv/poker, or you can catch it on Facebook, fb.com/Twitch poker, or it's on the Riffle Production YouTube, or it's on the Card Player Lifestyle YouTube. So all of those places you can watch it. It's episode 9. If you've not seen any of the others, well worth a watch. The the first one of this year we did was the media special we did, which was really interesting. Actually, what the guys think is going to happen in the year, and kind of their take on where we're at with content creation and what's going to happen. Really interesting one to check out.
How do you see all of this sort of stuff, Jon? You know, given that you've come through the more traditional sort of media side, you know, print production and all of that sort of stuff, you know, which is it's just a world away from how quickly digital content can be produced now. When, you know, people can produce it that have no experience, they just get their hands on the right equipment and, you know, they manage to get a bit of luck in terms of getting a following or whatever. Does that frustrate you? Do you see that as an opportunity? I mean, how do you view that, having come from the, you know, I say respectfully, the old school, as it were?
Yeah. Maybe sound like a newspaper baron or something. No,
but they were. You know, if you were involved in paper, you were old school, right?
Yeah, but no, I fully appreciate that. You know, the video content is I was going to say going to be the next big thing. I think it's here now. You know, you have to have video content. I mean, I've been doing online content as well, but you can't just have online writing. I think, you know, having video stuff as well is really, really important. Even when I was back doing WPT, we made sure we had video content on our website when not a lot of other mags were doing that.
I remember that. Absolutely, yeah.
9-10 years ago, you know, when social media was around, but not as big as it was now. Yeah, I think you're right. I think, you know, it's cheaper to produce. I mean, you guys obviously have production costs for doing this kind of thing, and, you know, and the orbit and stuff like that. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. I think so many more people are online now, accessing stuff through social media. That, yeah, it's really important to have lots of quick content. Video, I think, is particularly important, and I think video content is going to be huge in the next few years, like predominantly for all sorts of. Yeah, I'm talking about writing as well. You know, writing and articles and things online with video as well embedded. I think that's going to be really important. Something I've looked at. I did look at Bluff, sort of doing sort of video podcasts and stuff like that. And didn't really I wasn't really spending a long enough time on the magazine to sort of get it up and running. But I think if the magazine ever came back, it's something we should look at doing. You know, some kind of Bluff Europe channel or something like that.
Yeah. Who holds the rights now, Jon? Are they
for Bluff Europe?
Yeah.
It's still the title. It's still the same publishing company. It's still Leigh and Publishing, who were involved with iGaming business for quite a while.
So it's Michael. Is it Michael Caselli?
Yeah, Michael Caselli, don't you? Yeah. So I mean, Bluff obviously sort of, people will know and the subscribers will know, went on sort of a hiatus a couple of years ago. So it's kind of sleeping, really. I've never had a magazine fold underneath me, so I'm not going to say that it's folded, but it's just sort of hibernating for a bit till we sort of figure out what to do.
Got it.
I saw somebody post, it might have been on social media the other day, asking the question, are there still any print magazine, poker print magazines? Was it you that it was in the discussion with?
I saw it.
Talking about it.
And I think I said, I don't know. And I remember Poker Player very quietly sort of slipping away into an online digital version, really without much fanfare. They just sort of quietly went.
Dave Woods did it very, very quietly.
Yeah. Dave, who's still around. I think he's still in the industry. I'm not sure what he's up to actually. So yeah, but I think there's still a market. I mean, particularly like in the US, where, you know, poker is sort of coming back a bit, you know, especially in the States where gambling's being legalized. You're starting to get casinos introducing new card rooms. So I think I mean, maybe I'm just dreaming, but I think there's always scope for print mags to come back again.
Do you know what you want to do?
If people say, oh, live poker's going to boom, it's going to boom again, and, you know, the US is getting more and more poker rooms, and, you know, even the last few months, you know, poker's being legalized in states where they've never had poker. and gambling. So if that's the case, and players are going to come to card rooms when it's safe to do that, then I think it's okay to have print mags.
I think you'll find it'll be the same as it is with a number of kind of the sectors, whereby whether somebody would subscribe to a magazine and get sent it every month, I don't know, but certainly working a business model whereby they can go into the venues as you've done in the past with Bluff Europe, and pick up your revenue from advertising, and be able to get a decent distribution, because most people that go into a card room, if there's one there, will pick one up and have a read of it. Well,
give me 30 seconds. Is there a Bluff Global magazine?
No, there was a Bluff US that used to run at the same time as Bluff Europe.
So where is that now?
That was sold to Churchill Downs, the racetrack, years ago. And this is when Churchill Downs were trying to sort of get an in to the new regulated markets. And obviously what happened in Delaware went legal, and Churchill Downs now, who have they done a deal with? I was doing something on it the other day, but they've made some partnerships with some online companies. So Churchill Downs will be running a few sites, in sports betting sites in other states. So I think, I don't know, the last I heard, and that was years ago, is that they own the rights to Bluff US.
Listen, why don't you have a word with Mr. Caselli, and we'll see if we can get Mr. Caselli, Mr. Young, Mr. Wilshire, and Mr. Duffy on a call, because we're very creative, and I think I can see an idea forming.
Okay.
Will you get on a call?
I'm up for that. Yeah.
Organize it. Seriously. Organize it. Get the four of us on a call.
So Tristan's in the chat saying the topless dealer thing. Oh no, that was 12 minutes ago. That's okay, fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, I read.
Thank God we missed that. That wasn't the idea.
Goodness me. Yeah.
No, what it is. Four of us
Seriously.
Dealers. Yeah. Okay.
Seriously, topless dealers aside, organize a call, right? You get him on your side and Leigh and I on our side, and we'll do a Zoom.
You do realize, obviously, John has history when it comes to naked poker.
Oh my God! Yes, he won the Paddy Power naked poker title, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm in the.
He was in the Bluff at the time. No pun intended.
Yeah.
My kids keep asking me about it, and I think they keep telling kids at school, and it's like, please, can you not tell kids at school? But they've upgraded it to World Poker Champion, which is great.
Is that what they've got? Really? Is it? Yeah. It's got a problem.
And so there are parents at school going, "What? Like the world champion of poker?" I go, "Oh yeah. Like the best of the world."
You've got to say, "Do you want me to show you my trophy and just watch your kids' reaction?"
No. Funnily enough, I had to put the trophy out of their reaches because it's solid glass, and they were sort of swinging it around and stuff. Yeah,
that's bad.
It's a cabinet.
That is very, very bad indeed. Right, so we're back, guys. Let's put this table up. Let's see if we can see what's happening here. So we're down to 4.
Yeah, just the 4 players remaining. Carl Lyons very much the short stack here, and the others have got a reasonable number of chips. Lyons of 60,000, 120,000. So the other guys have got well over 20 bigs. It's Carl that's very much is at risk here.
And included amongst the 4 is one Barry Simpson, who you might remember his stalker fan Dan Williams was on the show last week. Do you remember that, Leigh?
Yes. Yeah.
He was really liking Barry.
Is this an actual stalker, or is it?
Well, we don't think so. You know Dan Williams. Do you know Dan Williams?
Is he a regular
APAT? Cheltenham, down the Cheltenham way. He was going back maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. He was one of the Gotham gang, who would certainly be at all of the WCIPs.
Okay.
But good lad, very good lad. We had a great show with him last week, and he mentioned Barry a couple of times. He said, is that the Barry Simpson? Going, yeah, absolutely. It made sense at the time. A week on, it makes less sense, but Barry is nonetheless doing well.
he was in awe of him, wanted him to
He
do well. He's
was.
having another decent run.
He certainly
Decent
is.
run here. I recognise the name Adam Starkey as well, actually.
So, guys, you know, obviously we've had our 30 seconds on poker. It's time to swivel again. We've got to move, right? We've got to pivot. Netflix. Has anybody seen Wayne?
No, someone's telling me about that the other day.
Oh, that is one. That is one fun show.
Is it a high school thing?
Yeah, it's probably it's not positioned in a high school, but there's certainly, you know, your stars is probably 17 or 18, and you know, is a bit freaky, and it's quite a novel story, I have to say. It's 30-40 minutes of just fun.
Is it a series? Is it
a series? Yeah.
Okay. What have you been binging? I think everyone's been binging for a year, haven't they?
Oh God, I just lose track of them, really. Lose sight of them. You know, just find a good one and then just watch it through. I think the best thing that I've seen, you know, over the last few months was probably The Queen's Gambit. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was very good.
Didn't at all improve my chess game, but I thought it was a great yarn.
Did you watch it thinking they could do a poker version of this?
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely. You know, absolutely.
Because I think they've had, you know, there've been some really good poker scenes in TV shows recently. You know, sort of Boardwalk Empire and Billions and stuff like that. So there seems to be a lot of writers who get poker who are doing TV shows right now. I think.
Well, much better than it used to be.
Yeah, better than it used to be. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you're connected with them at all. Nolan Dalla. Nolan used to be the media director of the World Series of Poker. I'm connected with him on Facebook, and he's fallen out of love with poker players. And I love Nolan because he's incredibly direct, right? So very anti-Trump, for example, and very direct about it. You know, it doesn't matter if you're his friend or not, very direct. But you know, he's incredibly interesting to follow because he writes in a lot of detail about everything from, you know, Vegas places to eat that he regularly goes to with his wife and stuff like that. But he's currently doing a series on the best and worst gambling orientated movies.
Okay.
So I think he did a top 25 for both. So, you know, day one, you got your worst, your ranked number 25 worst gambling movie and ranked number 25 best gambling movie. And he's going through them and he writes about them in a lot of detail. So I would, definitely encourage you to either go to nolandalla.com.
He's got a list of 50. Wow.
Yeah. He has some of these movies I'd never heard of, Leigh. But
are they just movies that have got some gambling in them, or are they?
Oh yeah. They're going to be
So it's just
there'll be different levels, right?
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
But what
he's not got to his number one yet. No.
No. I think he's still like in the he's around 2021. So it's a relatively new series. But he writes about them in great detail. You know, he writes great reviews. The guy is a writer. He is a writer at heart. And you know, his stuff is very intelligent and it's great value. It's great value just to watch some of the put downs, and he's as likely to put down poker players, you know, it's just for some of the stuff they do and say and what have you. But do look at his website.
Talking about that, I don't know whether you guys have seen on Twitter in the past 24 hours or maybe a little bit longer, 48 hours, this massive debate about poker players rating each other and who would be the poker goat, and huge debates over where you would fit everybody in. And is it just usual poker Twitter just having a little bit of a crazy 48 hours on a particular subject? I think it might have been Helmuth that started the whole thing off. But there's a surprise.
Has he put himself number one?
Yeah, well, I think the argument was, well, actually, you'd have different players for different things, so you'd probably, you'd have a different pick for who, if you were looking at a high stakes cash situation, you'd have a different person. If you were picking a high stakes tournament, you'd have a different situation. If you were picking somebody that was going to play a schedule at the World Series, a full schedule at the World Series, who would be your player? You had to pick one player. do that. And obviously, yeah, you would have different players for different things, and obviously live and online would give you different options. I mean, if I put it out there and say, so if you could pick one player to back in a full World Series schedule, who would you pick?
Oh, you want an answer?
I know who I'd pick.
Who would you pick?
I'd pick Chiddick.
Would you really for the full World Series?
Yeah, I would.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think I would. I'd have him for a high roller series, yeah, possibly. But then again, I might also pick Ike Haxton for that as well, quite possibly. Maybe, but
yeah, Bryn Kenny or someone with experience of just continually crushing tournament after tournament.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be hard pushed not to go with a Negreanu for a World Series schedule. Just ability to you need an absolute good all rounder that's doesn't really blow up and is quite happy holding his sausage at the end of the end of the hand. That's what you need, isn't it? Yeah. But obviously it does vary. Who would be obviously it was like they were saying, well, you couldn't really pick anybody other than Doug Polk for heads up, online, for example.
And talking about it afterwards as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, and being prepared to discuss it in great detail. But that was the point. Is so if you were saying, right, I need to pick a poker goat, so the greatest poker player of all time, it's nigh on impossible to actually pick one because there's so many different variants and different aspects of it that you'd have to take into account. I mean, could you pick one person and say, well, yes, they are the greatest of all time?
It's so hard, isn't it? Because there are different eras. You'd have to go 10-year stretches or something and go, okay, the best player from 1970 to 1980, and then change.
And would a Stu Unger type character, who arguably at that time everyone would have said was the greatest player, but would they be able to play in the current climate within the world? I don't
impossible.
know.
No.
Whether they could or couldn't, it's hard to say. Does a Doyle Brunson that's has gone over the generations, does that make them a shout for it? I'm not sure.
It's just something that men like doing, though, isn't it? Endless lists.
Yeah. Who would you pick?
If we're talking about gender in poker and stuff, that's one thing that meant. I've just had a look at Nolan Dallow's site actually. He's got he's got 3 really good films in his best ones. So House of Games, if you haven't seen House of Games, absolutely fantastic.
Haven't seen it, no.
Brilliant. It's about con men. Got some great gambling and owning Mahoney. If you like, Philip Seymour Hoffman as a gambling addict is superb.
That's based on a true story, right?
Yeah.
A bank manager who just nicked a lot of cash from the bank and went and played in Atlantic City all the time.
Yeah. But
really, oh wow,
yeah, it's great. John Hurt, I think, is the casino boss.
That's right. Yeah.
He's put the cooler in the worst movies. I thought that was quite good.
Oh,
that was very good.
That's the beauty of opinion, right?
It was my opinion. Yeah. About this kind of utter loser who just is hired by casinos to come in and make people lose money. I thought it was just to put bad luck on people. I thought that was good.
What else has he got?
I saw a very good one on Netflix actually. Win It All. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
You should check it. It's by a stand-up comedian who wrote it and stars in it. There's a poker player who's given 50 grand to look after by his friend who's gone to prison. And obviously he can't help himself. And it's just about the games that he plays in. It's really good. Just kind of
what would be your pick? I mean, a lot of people, when it comes to the poker, can't ever see past rounders as kind of the. I think it's because rounders brought so many people into the game. I think perhaps.
Yeah. Still, I think it still holds up.
Yeah, it was gritty. It was good.
Yeah, and it had such good cast as well, and so Matt Damon and Edward Norton weren't massively well known as well. They managed to get them just as they were starting to become famous. But then you had John Malkovich, you know, being ridiculous in it, and it's still good. The Cincinnati Kid, I think, is still fantastic.
Yeah,
it's such a great film. And Mississippi Grind, which came out a couple of years ago, that's really worth checking out. It's just Ryan Reynolds, and who's in it? Ben Mendelsohn, Aussie actor. There's two kind of gamblers sort of winning their way down to Mississippi. That's great.
Yeah, Simon Lawler's with you on that one. He said liked Mississippi Grind.
Really good. Yeah, Molly's Game was quite good. I
quite enjoyed Molly's Game.
Yeah,
I must admit.
Good show.
Enjoyed that.
And then some films that are sort of got. I mean, The Sting, you can't look past. It's got poker in it. There's not a poker film, but and California Split, which is quite hard to track down. It's a 70s film with Elliot Gould in, and it's just really funny. Some really funny cash game scenes in it where these sort of players are just pissing about.
So I think that's the beauty of what Nolan is doing there. He's going to commit to print 50 poker stroke gambling orientation movies that whether you like them or not are probably worth looking at a trailer and maybe trying to seek out if you think it looks good.
Yeah. Does that mean he'll put in things like Lock, Stock and?
I don't know. Don't know exactly what his rules are, but you can see that most of the movies that he's featured so far seem to stand up as there's a reasonable amount of gambling in them. They're Vegas style movies.
They play poker in a boxing ring in Lock, Stock, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Right near the
they
start.
Do,
yeah.
And it's 3-card brag as well, which if you play poker, if you learn poker like I did in the 90s, then
that's your game.
You learned when it's just a ridiculously sick game, a gambling game.
Well, I don't know whether you're ever going to get a proper a real mainstream film that is fully poker, or even I mean, obviously we started this off talking about a Netflix series, talking about the Queen's Gambit and whether that would ever be into a poker series. It feels like it could be done, and there would be scope for. I think Joey Ingram was kind of writing it after the Queen's Gambit. I think from what I saw on Twitter, he was already working on a script. But it would be interesting. I do think actually kind of what goes on, kind of certainly if you can imagine a house of kind of online poker players and kind of what they get up to would be potentially as an interesting kind of series kind of feel to it. Was it who was it on the Orbit, Des, that
Jamie?
It was Marley, wasn't it? That was it. It was Marley.
Jamie had some really interesting ideas, didn't? Oh, Marley.
Yeah,
also,
but Marley also was talking about wanting to do it as a series. It wouldn't be a film. It's more of a kind of a sitcom type series of stuff because there is some ridiculously funny stuff that goes on within the poker community.
Oh God,
all the time, isn't it? It's just
I think the problem is though they've always been portrayed as cheats or addicts or criminals, all three, and there's no in between, is there? I guess Queen's Gambit, chess fans would look at that and go, well, they're all oddballs. That's not fair, or something, maybe it's a similar thing. But
I think what they did was they focused in on the extreme part of that vertical, if you like. She was positioned as a child genius who ultimately required drugs to perform. Whereas the Russians and the top American players were all seen to be super eccentric. But I would imagine there's like layers and layers of players underneath that who are everything from hobbyists to really strong players, but ultimately ordinary people.
You have that in the poker world.
You do, absolutely right. Yeah.
The stereotypes you have within poker, just simply based on what country you think somebody's from, are insane at times. Absolutely insane.
I mean, still now it's like, the Russians are playing online.
When we first started lockdown with APAT, and we left, obviously we left it open and said, anyone could play, and so yes, the Russians and Ukrainians would play our PLO8 games, and this is outrageous. The Russians play. It's like
we've never seen so many happy people when they win a medal in something. Like, they're just ordinary people like us.
Yeah,
go figure.
Exactly. It's but there is this kind of there's still the stereotypes and within poker, which I find fascinating and funny and watching. With poker, you want to try and reach out to the non poker industry, non-poker community, and I think it's fascinating if they were able to get an insight into kind of how the whole thing works and how people think and the little cliques and groups and things that go on. It would be a fascinating watch for somebody, in the same way it was for those of us that don't follow chess, to watch the Queen's Gambit and kind of get a bit of an understanding as to what goes on. And as much as we might consider it to be a bit geeky and a bit well,
but the Queen's Gambit,
kind of quite cool.
The Queen's Gambit has happened in poker. It's already, the story's already there, right? Simon Lawler's squeeze. Annette Oberstad is the Queen's Gambit in poker, right?
Yeah.
She used to win tournaments with a post-it note on her screen, covering her cards. An absolute just rocket story from being a kid in Norway to winning some of the biggest titles on the world for millions.
Yeah. It's got to come. There's going to be a poker series. There's got to be, because the levels of money involved. We've still, the mainstream still hasn't picked up on that. Most people who don't know poker aren't aware of the crazy sums of cash that have been won by poker players over the years.
And by nature of the fact that it is cash too. It's cash.
Yeah.
You walk out of your casino with money.
Yeah. That's insane. That it's just so ripe for someone writing about that.
And we're not even talking about the World Series main event, as much as that's kind of the pinnacle for a lot of people. These new series of high rollers, like the Triton stuff and all that kind of thing, these super high rollers. I mean, even like the Millions online now has got another super high roller. Was it 102,000 buy-in?
That's right. Yeah.
On online. I mean, it just it's just ridiculous. Yes, it starts tomorrow. Million, it's 3 million guaranteed. So it needs 30 people to rock up with 102 grand. I mean, Des, you've not bought in yet. What's going on?
No, I've had a look at my checking account this month, Leigh, and I'm not going to be able to make this one.
Do you need some bits?
I'm just letting you know.
I'm just making a down payment on that Ferrari carpet.
But so how ridiculous is this, right, John? So this mega high roller starts tomorrow. It's the Millions online. It's event number 28. 3 million guaranteed. It's a 2-day event. 102,000 buy-in. Nobody's bought in yet for it. It starts in 18 hours.
What's the guarantee?
3 million.
Okay.
So but it makes you kind of wonder, well, how many people have got 100 grand sat in their party poker account? When you talk about money and people not understanding or appreciating, outside world understanding how there's probably quite a few that have sat with sort of serious amounts of money, and I bet you it hits the guarantee.
Yeah,
I guarantee it will hit the guarantee.
This is the problem. This is the thing I don't know about. I've heard from a couple of pros who have issues, particularly in the UK, with getting money in and out of accounts because of the new regulations. It's really it's a real problem for online play, particularly during lockdown, where it may be their only avenue to play. Having their account shut just as the tournament's about to start because it looks like they're money laundering or they have a problem. They might lose, put a ton of money in, win. Oh, you've got problem. You're a problem gambler. We're going to shut your account. No, but I'm a pro. No, you're obviously a problem gambler, and we're going to freeze your account. Oh, and you've missed all these tournaments. So I think that's an issue.
But the problem is for a pro poker player, how do you prove that? Yeah, you're not a problem gambler.
No, it's impossible, isn't it?
How do you prove that you're not?
No, and you can't phone up the PR department and go, well, you know me, can you do something about this?
Because they can't take the risk.
No.
You know, if you've been flagged, then you've been flagged.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's possible. Presumably there'll be a load of satellite winners going into this, won't there, tomorrow as well?
No, I don't think so. They normally run a satellite for maybe 5 seat. Yes, they got a 5-seat satellite tomorrow, which you can get in if you've worked your way up to that. That's getting close to the guarantee, actually. So it's a $500,000 guarantee in that. So 5 of them will come from that.
Yeah.
Which is the normal way they do it. But then let's say another 25 will just literally buy in with 102 grand.
Yeah, maybe they're just waiting, just buying tomorrow.
Yeah.
And now they know that Des isn't playing this one, then I mean there might be less that want to turn up.
They're gonna sweep in now. The shark isn't in.
Yeah. But even the people that you think would play this, you know, they'll be in the satellite, giving that a whirl.
Yeah.
Seeing if they can get in on the cheap. But there's players. I mean, it's interesting. The satellite. I mean, so Robert James is in that set, which is Bobby James.
Okay.
So UK pro, he's in the satellite tomorrow. So it's the only name I recognise. So,
What's the buy-in for the sat?
You have to work your way through. So
yeah.
I'm not sure what where the buy-in. You can't buy direct into the satellite, so you've got to work your way up. I think 1,050.
Yeah.
I think it's 1,050. Effectively, you win that takes you into what technically would be a 10,000 to then win 100,000.
I saw.
I mean, for most rec players, or if they've decided to have a go at those, you know.
If it's a club, it's over.
No, and so Adam's going to get double up. Yeah. So you can go from sort of $55. So a rec player could do that. So I mean, imagine John, you said, I'm going to have a bit of a go at these satellites, and you absolutely had a heater of a run in these satellites, and you got your $102,000 ticket to play this high roller.
Yeah.
But of course, you can't cash that out.
No.
So you've got to play it. But I mean, if you could sell it, what would you sell it for?
Yeah, it's the issue, isn't it? Does that happen with online? I don't know. So I'm a bit out of the loop with online. I don't know if it's the same as packages that you can sell on to.
Yeah, well, they've had to. I mean, Party Poker had to stop player transfers because of the money laundering and gambling regs. So they used to be able to do player-to-player transfer. That had to stop. I think you'd struggle to be able to sell a ticket across now because there's no mechanism to do it. So
I think the only thing you could do is to sell a piece of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Off book, but who'd want to buy a piece of you in that tournament? That's the issue. You'd have to offer amazing value.
I mean, what would you say in that field, John, if you're playing? And Adam's going to get another double up.
Wow, he does.
And he is. And takes the chip lead. I mean, what would you, obviously, you know, people sell, you know, when they think they've got an edge, they'll sell at maybe 1.2, 1.3, some a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm putting myself well below the 1.
Yeah.
0.15, 0.05.
Well, no, I mean, I'm lucky if, I mean, what do you think? I mean, if you've not played in one of those before, I mean, what are you down at? 0.7, 0.8, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've no idea what.
Maybe not even that. I don't know.
What the playing style would be in that. I mean, how many people in this?
Simon Lawler's just said sell at 0.8.
Yeah.
I don't think you even get 0.8, to be honest. I don't think you get it.
So Tristan's made the point that it's possible. Guy, you know, Charlie Godwin did it in the last series.
Yeah.
She finished third for about 400,000 and had won a seat through a satellite.
If you could lock up 30 grand before starting, Leigh, would you take it?
Yes, I think I probably would. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're selling at whatever gets you 30 grand. 0.3. I think you would.
0.3, yeah.
Just because your edge isn't particularly big. I mean, you can get lucky, right? You could have an amazing payday.
No, of course you can.
But 30 grand's a lot of money, right?
But you could very
From
easily,
50?
bust the tournament and be done. Yeah.
I think the danger is you have to really find a different place not to play scared with a $100,000 buy-in.
Well, bear in mind also there'll be people in there that'll fire a second bullet.
Yeah,
because there is one. There's one re-entry allowed as well. So
Crikey.
you know, I mean that's the scary thing is there will be people in there that will fire 2 bullets into that tomorrow.
Ouch.
That's for sure.
it'll be interesting to go online and see who's in it. Actually, if there's anyone.
But Simon's in the chat saying no one buys in days before. It will make the guarantee. Well, and, Simon's our font of all knowledge when it comes to all things party poker, and but I've no doubt it will hit. It'll be a small field, and probably it might only pay out 5 or 6 places, something like that, maybe.
But I think if you look at some of the names that are entering these tourneys, Leigh, I mean, it is a who's who of high-level poker players. Lots of really big names playing these events.
Well, are they high level, or is it just they're playing high stakes? I mean, this is the question.
Well,
are the
not
best
necessarily.
poker players the ones playing the high stakes, John? Would you say or not?
Sorry, say again.
Would you say the best players are the ones playing the highest stakes, or is that not always the case?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I don't follow online as much, but certainly the standard of the live super high rollers, I mean, are excellent. I mean, you've got guys like, Paul Poor, isn't it, who sort of buys in, for these ridiculous tournaments. And these are all really, really good players. I think the days of those really rubbish businessmen buying in who are terrible, I think those are gone. I think there's some of the Triton super high rollers are always really stacked, aren't they? With I think there is an argument about these players just playing each other time and time again, and they know each other's games. Is the money just sort of swilling around and passing hands, with some of these players? But I think those super high rollers, they're quite limited fields. They're all pretty good. Do you remember the first big 1-for-1 drop where there was just a handful of just utterly rubbish players?
Yeah, businessmen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's still the case.
No, I would agree. And our own high roller, our last remaining tournament of the night, has finished, Leigh. Our deep stack.
Yeah, so the deep stack has finished, and Adam Starkey ended up taking down the win there. Barry Simpson finishing in second. So let me give you a quick update on the leaderboards for the week then. Top 5 in the 7 p.m. leaderboard. Tony Griffiths, Kurt Weinert, Stephen Oliver, Andreas Zakilia, and Kevin O'Donnell. They're all going to pick up a token, as is in the 8 p.m. games. Malcolm Vince, James Herdman, Greg Mawson, Jefferson Franco, and Teru Gulat. Last ones of the 7 p.m., 8 p.m. leaderboards. As of tomorrow, we've got a new schedule, 16 tournaments in a week. All of those tournaments, if you cash, you will earn points onto the brand new leaderboard ladders. Details about that will be going up on the website and social media tomorrow. So stay tuned for that info if you didn't catch it earlier on, because it's 20-1 and I'm not going through it again this time, right?
Well, I'm going to play us out with a little video, right? So we're going to play us out with that. But before I do that, big thank you to all of you guys who joined us through the week to complete this latest leaderboard promo. We go with the new promo from next week. Leigh and I will be back on Sunday night to do this all over again, and hopefully there'll be lots of drama next Sunday night with this new Aladdin promo, which I think should be fun. Which just leaves me to thank Jon for spending 2 hours and 40 minutes with us on a Sunday night. Thank you, Jon. It was a really great chat. The time just flew by, I have to say. So it was really nice having you on. Hopefully everything goes well with the kids going back to school tomorrow, and we start to take that journey back to normality. So that is Jon. Leigh and I will say good night as well, and we'll play you out with those final details of what will be starting tomorrow evening. So good night, everybody. Have a great week ahead.